Chapter 232. I'll bet on it too. You don't know how to appreciate favors. I will let you understand that Liangchen never speaks empty words. Yi Liangchen waved his sleeves and stepped onto the stage. He stared at Qin Hao and said with a threatening look in his eyes, "I'll give you one last chance. Get out of the fourth place obediently. I, Yi Liangchen, am not like those trash contestants you met earlier. My cultivation is at the early stage of 8 stars, and the grade of my cultivation technique is extremely high. In other words, I have 108 methods to make you die on the combat arena. But you can't do anything to me. I'm tired of listening to these words. Please hurry up and attack." Qin Hao's face darkened. "Liangchen painstakingly advised you, but you don't know how to be grateful. Fine, Liangchen will help you accomplish your magnificent feat of returning to the Western Paradise and bestow upon you a good fortune. To be able to die in Liangchen's hands is also your life's honor. All you need to remember is that my name is Yi Liangchen." As soon as Yi Liangchen finished speaking, a surge of green yuan qi radiated from his body. He waved the fan in his hand and swept a ball of light towards Qin Hao. This move was called One Fan Down. It was a mid-grade, mystic-grade yuan skill with boundless power. As the name implied, a person would fall to the ground with a swing of the fan. Moreover, his fan was a middle-grade refined weapon. It could be said to be a treasure. That was how Jiang Xiaoji was sent flying out of the arena by Yi Liangchen. Qin Hao would not be able to escape this calamity. Unfortunately, Qin Hao is not Jiang Xiaoji. Qin Hao's interspatial ring flashed as he took out the purple meteorite sword. With a slash, he shattered Yi Liangchen's attack. That sword qi also took the opportunity to shatter his white fan. Yi Liangchen did not even have time to react when the audience screamed. Qin Hao's blood sword was already on his neck and had cut open his skin, causing blood to seep out. At this moment, Yap Liangchen was scared out of his wits. He could feel chills running down his spine. He was defeated in one move. "You lost," Qin Hao said coldly. "Thank you for sparing my life, young master. Liangchen has learned a lot." Yi Liangchen cupped his fists and bowed. Then, he ran off the stage as if he was running for his life. The skin on his neck was cut. Qin Hao only needed to use a little more strength to slit Yi Liangchen's throat or even send his head flying. Yi Liangchen knew very well that he was no match for Qin Hao. Regardless of whether it was the strength of his yuan qi, sword moves, or even weapons, he was on a completely different level from Qin Hao. Luckily, Qin Hao did not embarrass Yi Liangchen. This was where he was truly grateful to Qin Hao. Hiss! There was another uproar below the stage. Qin Hao defeated the #1 expert of Fengyue country in one move. It seemed that his strength was even greater than what he had imagined. Yap Liangchen and Zhao Ritian were equally famous. In other words, Qin Hao could still kill Zhao Ritian and stand at the 3rd place. "This disciple of yours is a little too inconceivable." Fairy Fengyue's expression finally changed. Qin Hao's position in her heart had once again risen. After all, even the #1 genius of Fengyue country had been defeated. This is only the first step. Chun Kang was still the same as before. There was no change in his expression. He was not like the Tianwu clan and Qin Tian sect's leader. Once their disciples won, they were so happy that their saliva flew everywhere and they howled. This was because Qin Hao deserved to win. After Qin Hao defeated Yap Liangchen, he did not step down from the stage. Instead, he looked at Zhao Ritian. This was because the words, "I'm not convinced," were written in Zhao Ritian's eyes. "Why? I defeated Yap Liangchen in one move. Do you have a problem with that?" Qin Hao asked. "I, Zhao Ritian, am the first to disagree." Zhao Ritian roared with a rumbling voice. However, it was obvious that his legs were trembling. Although he said that he was not convinced, he was already convinced in his heart. If he was the one standing in the arena just now, he would not be able to withstand one move from Qin Hao. However, Zhao Ritian did not dare to go up. Instantly, many people started to laugh at him. On the surface, Zhao Ritian was arrogant. However, in reality, he was a coward who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Hearing the discussions around him, Qing Tian's sect's leader was so ashamed that his face turned red. It's my turn to challenge you. After a loud roar, Long Outyin, who was ranked second, flew up to the arena. His movement technique left an afterimage in the air. His strength was more powerful than Yap Liangshun and Zhao Ritian. He had reached the middle level of 8 stars. Long Outyin had always been arrogant. However, he realized that Qin Hao was even more arrogant than him. Defeating Yap Liangshun in one move made Long Outyin unhappy. He wanted to prove that he was the most arrogant person. I, Long Outyin, am very interested in your finger techniques. After getting into the arena, Long Outyin placed his hands behind his back. His eyes were sharp, and he looked like an elite. After that, Qin Hao waved his hand and swung his sword. His infinite space ring flashed, and the crimson sword in his hand disappeared into thin air. This action was quite dashing, causing many girls below the stage to scream. That's why I want to have a finger technique battle with you. I will defeat you with one finger, and I will kill you. Long Outyin was even more pissed. If you want to scream, you should scream at me. Moreover, he had already killed Geihai of Jiang Country 3 times and received 1 million taels of silver. If he could kill Qin Hao, he could get 2 million taels of silver. The temptation made Long Outyin's heart itch. What do you think, Qin Tian? My disciple killed Qin Hao. Are you willing to pay the money? The Grandmaster of Martial Sky Continent looked at Qin Tian's sect's leader. I am willing to pay 5 million taels of silver for killing Qin Hao. Qin Hao's performance was so outstanding that Zhao Ritian did not dare to get into the arena. This made the Grandmaster of Martial Sky Continent extremely angry, especially when he heard the people around him pointing at his sect and saying that his sect was not as good as Fengli Temple. Qin Tian's sect's leader was even angrier. Only Qin Hao's death could calm his anger. Very well. Seeing this, the Grandmaster of Martial Sky Continent made a throat-slitting gesture at Long Outyin. It meant that there was no need to show mercy. After making the gesture, he laughed and looked at Shun Kang. His laughter was filled with schadenfreude. Did you hear that, Brother Outyin? If you kill Qin Hao, my master is willing to give you 5 million taels of silver. From today onwards, I, Zhao Ritian, will be the first to submit to you. Zhao Ritian also shouted. Qin Hao had embarrassed him. Qin Hao must die. Hee. Then I will respectfully accept. Long Outyin became even more arrogant as he raised his head proudly. Zhao Ritian was the most powerful person in the younger generation of the valiant warring states. He had never submitted to anyone. Now, as long as he killed Qin Hao, Zhao Ritian would submit to Long Outyin. It had to be said that this made Long Outyin feel very proud. Since that is the case, I will also make a bet with everyone. If I lose, Fengli Temple is willing to pay 1 million taels of gold and provide 5 sets of high-level dark-level yuan skills. However, if I defeat Long Outyin with one finger, then Senior Qin Tian and Senior Martial Sky Continent will only have to pay 10 million taels of silver each. What do you think? Qin Hao smiled and looked at the two of them. He only wanted money and did not care about their yuan skills. This was because Celestial Sect and Qin Tian Sect's techniques were not worthy of Qin Hao's attention. Kid, do you mean what you say? The Grandmaster of Martial Sky Continent shouted excitedly and stood up from his chair. His eyes were burning with passion. Chapter 233. One appointed life and death. Moreover, there were 5 sets of high-level mystic class techniques. High-level mystic class techniques were extremely precious. Out of the 5 sets of techniques, Ancestor Tianwu was confident that he could take 3 of them. However, could a mere disciple like Qin Hao represent the Fengli Temple? Qin Hao is one of the top geniuses of our sect. He will definitely keep his word. Shen Kang stood up and said. However, his expression was a little bitter and he seemed to lack confidence. He was not afraid that Qin Hao would lose, but the Fengli Temple could not take out so much money and did not have so many high-level mystic class techniques. Right now, the dignified sect leader could only follow Qin Hao in scaring people. All right, old man will go all out. I'll bet with you. The old ancestor of the Martial Sky Continent immediately agreed. I'll bet with you too. If I lose, I'll give you 10 million taels of silver. The Sky Pillar sect leader said. 10 million taels of silver was not a small amount. However, he felt that Chun Kang was a little weak. This meant that the Fengli Temple was most likely putting on an act. Qin Hao was actually not Long Outyan's opponent. That was what the Sky Pillar sect leader thought. Not only that, Old Man's wine gourd is also on the line. I bet that Qin Hao will win. The drunkard patted the gourd on his waist. No one knew better than him how strong Qin Hao was. He would make Ancestor Tianwu and Sky Pillar lose so badly that they would have to take off their pants. Ancestor Tianwu and the Sky Pillar sect leader were even more ecstatic. The drunkard's wine gourd could send the Sky Pillar sect leader flying. It was definitely not an ordinary item. I wonder if I'm lucky enough to participate in this bet. A minister from Fengyue country said. His eyes were filled with thirst. The temptation of Qin Hao was too great. That's right. We bet that Long Outyan will win. My Tianwu ministers all want to bet. My valiant warring states ministers are also willing to bet. I'm a merchant from Fengyue country. I bet 10 million taels of silver that Long Outyan will win. I am Steward Wu from the Heavenly Martial Kingdom. I bid 5 million. For million. In an instant, the scene became extremely lively. Everyone wanted to participate in the bet. In their eyes, Qin Hao was giving them money for free. How could they not want it? All right, then let's make it 1 to 10. If I lose, I'll pay you 10 times the amount. Qin Hao also smiled. If that's the case, I'll bet 100,000 taels of silver that Long Outyan will win. At this moment, Guihai stepped forward. He hated Qin Hao to the bone and wished that Qin Hao would die. Unfortunately, his nephew was killed by Long Outyan. But now, he no longer cared about the past and stood on Long Outyan's side. He wanted to make Qin Hao suffer a crushing defeat and make the entire Fengli Temple go bankrupt. It would be best if it went bankrupt. However, he was embarrassingly short of money and only had a mere 100,000 taels of silver left. This 100,000 taels of silver was almost his coffin capital. Interesting. Yining Chong beamed with joy and seemed to be a little tempted. However, her status was noble. The mere silver of the secular world and the trash of the profound rank cultivation method were not worth her gamble. Senior Sister Yin, do you want to participate as well? Who do you think will win? Su Tianlei asked. I think that Qin Hao will win. Yining Chong was quite confident in Qin Hao's mysterious finger technique. Since that's the case, why don't we make a bet? Junior brother has 100 low-grade, mysterious crystals. I bet that Long Outyan will win. Su Tianlei immediately found an opportunity and quickly bet with Yining Chong. The mysterious crystal was a rare, or that contained extremely high spirit energy. It could help cultivators cultivate and was also the common currency of the 4 great academies. Sure, but I don't have any low-grade mysterious crystals. I have 2 mid-grade mysterious crystals. Yining Chong smiled. She didn't care about winning or losing. She just felt that it was very interesting. In other words, she felt very excited. Then junior brother will be disrespectful. Su Tianlei was overjoyed. A piece of mid-grade mysterious crystal could be exchanged for 100 low-grade mysterious crystals. Yining Chang's 2 mid-grade mysterious crystals were twice as much as Su Tianlei's. The 2 examiners sent by Qiyang University had both participated in the bet, which made Wu Juntao, who was at the side, very unpleasant to the eye. In his heart, he felt an inexplicable sense of jealousy towards Qin Hao. What ability did Qin Hao have to make such a beautiful elder Yun bet for him? On the other side, on the arena, Long Outyan could not hold it in any longer. He pointed at Qin Hao and said, I also want to bet. I bet that I will win. If you lose, I want your spatial artifact, as well as that blood sword. Of course, at that time, you'll already be dead. Everything that belongs to you is mine. No problem. If I win, I also want your summer bag. Qin Hao's eyes aimed at the bag on Long Outyan's waist. The other party was the disciple of the ancestor of the Sky Martial sect, the number 1 genius of the Sky Martial sect. All right, watch me kill you with 1 finger. After saying that, The power of an 8-star mid-grade Yuan master slowly condensed at the tip of Long Out-Yin's finger. His finger emitted a sharp green light in an instant. At this moment, Long Out-Yin's face was extremely ferocious. Qin Hao would definitely not be able to take one of his fingers. There are madmen every year, but there are especially many today. Let's see how you kill me with one finger. Qin Hao also raised his index finger. Just like when he killed Gale, a sharp light as thin as the tip of a needle condensed. At this moment, the crowd below the stage did not dare to breathe loudly. They did not even blink. This was really too big. If Qin Hao lost, not only would he lose his life, the Fengli Temple would also be destroyed. Of course, if Qin Hao won, it would be a huge profit. Unfortunately, he could not win unless a miracle happened. After all, Qin Hao was only a 4-star Yuan master, while Long Out-Yin was an 8-star Yuan master. This move of mine is called the Sharp Spiritual Finger, a high-grade mystic class technique. It has killed a 9-star Yuan master before. Kid, are you ready to die? Long Out-Yin said cruelly. Golden Touch, a low-grade yellow class technique. Qin Hao said calmly. He did not even blush when he lied. The Golden Touch was clearly a high-grade heaven-class technique, and he had practiced it to the extreme. It could be said that even if Qin Hao did not use the Dragon Whirlpool technique, he could easily kill Long Out-Yin. A mere yellow-class technique. Your technique is weaker than mine, and your cultivation level is lower than mine. Go to hell. Long Out-Yin stretched out his finger, and a laser-like beam of light shot out from his finger. It went straight for Qin Hao's heart. Along the way, the beam of light made the air crackle. Go! Qin Hao waved his hand. The tip of his finger shone and flew out. In the blink of an eye, it collided with Long Out-Yin's beam of light. The two beams of light collided in the air, like two bison horns colliding with each other, creating intense sparks. Everyone held their hearts at the same time and panted frantically. It was too exciting. Both of them were geniuses, and their finger techniques were at the peak of perfection. However, it was a pity that Qin Hao was bound to lose. That was because Long Out-Yin's beam of light was nibbling away at Qin Hao's finger light bit by bit. At that moment, it was almost in front of Qin Hao. Qi condensation technique. Qin Hao shouted softly. The green light on his body shook, and the primal qi in his body multiplied. His primal qi flowed out like a flood. In the blink of an eye, that beam of light was pushed back by Qin Hao. Then, it landed on Long Out-Yin's chest with a devastating blow. Master, save me! Long Out-Yin was scared out of his wits. He did not dare to resist and turned to run. Unfortunately, he could not run away. Splat! Qin Hao's finger pierced through his back and came out from his chest. Chapter 234. Another round. After falling to the ground, a pool of blood flowed down the battle stage. The blood droplets fell from the 10-meter-high battle stage and splattered everywhere. The blood splattered on the faces of the crowd, causing them to be stunned. Then I won't hold back. Qin Hao chuckled and walked to Long Out-Yin's corpse. He bent down to retrieve the Sumeru pouch and stuffed it into his spatial ring. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed across the heads of the various ministers. Dead. Long Out-Yin pooped. The number 2 genius of Beiwu country, who was only slightly weaker than Wu Jintao, was killed by Qin Hao with a single finger. Crack! The eyes of the various merchants were wide open, and their mouths were wide open. Their hearts were cold. It's over. This time, they're going to go bankrupt. Puff! Old man Guihai raised his head and spat out a 200-foot-long fountain of blood. It was a spectacular sight. The amount of blood he spat out was even more than the blood spat out by the old demon of the Black Mountain. Long Out-Yin was such a ruthless person. He once killed Old Man Guihai's nephew with a single move. But now he could not even withstand a single blow from Qin Hao's finger. Old Man Guihai's efforts were all for naught. He had even lost his coffin capital. I really did not misjudge you. Junior Brother Su, I thank you very much. Yining Chong waved her hand and swept the 100 low-grade mysterious crystals in front of Su Tianlei into her spatial ring. You actually Kill my disciple. I want you dead." After the initial shock, the ancestor of the martial heaven sect was so furious that his anger was like thunder. He stepped on the armrest of his chair and leaped up like an eagle, pouncing straight at Qin Hao. His palm gathered the overflowing yuan qi of a 9-star yuan master. He swore to kill Qin Hao to avenge Long Outyin and take back the Sumera pouch. How could Qin Kang allow him to do as he wished? His body also flew up, and his speed did not fall behind in the slightest. Midway, he intercepted the martial sky old ancestor. Boom! At this moment, the two palms collided in mid-air. A circle of violent energy wreaked havoc, and a shockwave struck the ministers of various countries from the sky. Qin Kang and martial sky ancestor both had monstrous strength. If the shockwaves from their battle were to hit the ministers, they would either die or be crippled. For a moment, the entire arena was filled with horrified screams. Yuning Shang furrowed her brows and flicked her slender finger. A wisp of flame that looked weak and small flew out. However, it expanded in the air like a giant mouth, sucking in all the remaining shockwaves. Furthermore, the suction force forced Qin Kang and the martial sky ancestor to have no choice but to retreat. After the two of them landed on the ground, they retreated over a dozen steps. Qin Kang retreated 11 steps, but the martial sky ancestor retreated 12 steps. It was obvious who had the stronger cultivation. Qin Hao frowned. "I'm going to kill you because you killed my disciple Ao Tian," martial sky ancestor said through gritted teeth. Long Outyin was his life's blood, sweat, and tears. Hee. Qin Hao sneered. "He was the one who killed me first. Are you saying that only the disciples of Beiwu country are allowed to kill, but I am not allowed to kill anyone? That is not allowed." Wu Yingxiong slammed his dragon throne and stood up angrily. With a wave of his hand, a large group of elite imperial guards immediately surrounded the battle arena. Qin Hao could not escape even if he had wings. The two elders from Qian University have not spoken yet. "Who do you think you are?" Qin Hao's eyes trembled. He exuded the majesty of an emperor. This majesty was more than 10 times stronger than the emperor of Beiwu country, Wu Yingxiong. Instantly, the imperial guards retreated in fear. Their legs were shaking. "If that is the case, then I will speak. You must die. Pay with your life for the Tianwu country's contestant." Su Tianlei stood up and walked slowly towards the stage. His face was gloomy to the extreme. A trace of faintly discernible orange yuan qi condensed in the palm of his hand. He was actually a saint-level expert. Moreover, he was prepared to kill Qin Hao with his own hands. Qin Hao's performance was too outstanding. It was enough to threaten Wu Jintao's first place. Su Tianlei took advantage of the emperor of Beiwu country. He would definitely not give Qin Hao the chance to defeat Wu Jintao. Moreover, Qin Hao caused him to lose 100 low-grade, mysterious crystals. It was a blood feud with his ancestors. So this is the style of the Scarlet Sun Martial Institution's elders. How disappointing. Qin Hao sneered and shook his head. "Your methods are cruel. Not only did you kill the contestants of other countries, you even dare to look down on me, Qiang Bin. This is simply disrespectful to the dean. Such a lawless disciple. Living is a waste of air. Go to hell." Su Tianlei's ability to fabricate fallacies was not for show. He gave Qin Hao the crime of insulting the dean. Immediately, the orange yuan qi in his palm shone brightly. "Back down," Yining Chang shouted. Although his tone was light, in Su Tianlei's ears, it was like a muffled thunder, causing his eardrums to rumble. Immediately, he hurriedly retreated to the side. Although they were both elders of Qiang Bin, he was far from being Yining Chang's opponent. "Your cultivation method is not bad. It makes me very curious. I wonder what the grade of your mental power is. If I am satisfied, I will bring you back to Qiang Bin." Yining Chang smiled and looked at Qin Hao's position. Then, his gaze swept across the emperors and ministers of the various countries. His gaze was dignified. "And all of you, if you are willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. How much money do you owe others? Hand it all over, or..." As she spoke, the ground started to shake under Yuning Shang's aura. I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to pay. And my 5 million. My 4 million. Give it all to Qin Hao. In an instant, the ministers of various countries wiped off their sweat and lined up in front of the drunkard and Chun Kang. They handed over their finances with a pained expression. Stacks of banknotes and rare treasures. There were too many to count. Their hearts were filled with hatred. They hated the 18 generations of ancestors of the Sky Martial Ancestor and Long Out Yin. They were helpless. Now that Elder Yin was supporting Qin Hao, who the hell dared to say half a word of no? Even if he wanted to tear Qin Hao into pieces, there was nothing he could do. He was extremely aggrieved, especially Wu Yingxiong and the Sky Martial Ancestor. No matter how much they hated Qin Kang, they had to smile and hand over the money. I refused to accept this. Suddenly, a voice that had reached the limit of its tolerance could be heard. Wu Jintao clenched his fists so tightly that his teeth were about to explode. Qin Hao had come to his majestic northern martial country, overcoming all difficulties along the way, and no one could stop him. After defeating so many elites and geniuses, and even forcing Yap Liangchen to apologize, Zhao Ritian was so scared that he did not dare to step on the stage. Now, even Long Out Yin of the Northern Martial Kingdom had lost his life to Qin Hao. Because of that, Qin Hao was able to suppress the ministers of Beiwu Nation. If Wu Jintao did not regain his dignity, he would be the crown prince of Beiwu Nation. What? Do you want to play with me too? I have to say, I advise you to think twice before you act. Qin Hao was a little tired. It was not that his body was tired, but he was too lazy to continue the fight. Because these so-called geniuses and monsters did not look like monsters at all. Only Wang Gui could stir up Qin Hao's fighting spirit. Chapter 235. Shiliang Qin State. I don't need to think twice before I act. This battle is already decided. Could it be that you're scared? If you're afraid, raise your hands and shout, "Long live Grandpa Jintao," 3 times, then I'll let you go. Wu Jintao clenched his fist at Qin Hao, making a squeaking sound. Actually, he was very jealous of winning so much money. He was even more envious of Qin Hao's limelight in the martial arts competition, especially when Yuning Chang was so beautiful and powerful, yet she actually looked at Qin Hao in a different light. Wu Jintao was quite jealous, so he had to fight. It would be best if he could win Yuning Chang's heart. If he could have a young female elder from Qiangbin as his girlfriend, he would have a lot of face. Brother Hao told you to think thrice before you act, so you should think about it for Liangchen. If not, I don't mind playing around with you. In fact, I like to play with people who think they are strong. All you need to know is that my name is Yi Liangchen. Suddenly, Yap Liangchen stepped forward. He stood tall and straight with a dignified appearance. Moreover, he was casting flirtatious glances at Yuning Chang. Him wanting to fight was fake. Coming out to show off was the real reason. Get out of my way. Wu Jintao didn't even look at Yi Liangchen. Yi Liangchen was not qualified to fight with him. You don't know what's good for you? Then just wait to be crushed by Brother Hao. You just need to remember that his name is Qin Hao. Yi Liangchen gave Qin Hao a don't worry look. Wu Jintao's strength was about the same as Long Out Yin's. No one knew who gave Wu Jintao the courage to run to Qin Hao to seek death. Since you want to fight, then I'll accompany you to the end. Qin Hao crooked his finger at Wu Jintao, signaling him to get on the battle stage. Shameless boasting. Watch how I make you kneel and apologize. Watch how I crush you. Wu Jintao jumped 10 meters high and landed steadily on the stage. He smiled contemptuously and continued. But before we fight, I want to make a bet with you. Do you dare? Oh, how do we gamble? Qin Hao asked. Gambling City. Wu Jintao gave a deep roar, then nodded at Wu Yingxiong. Seeing this, Wu Yingxiong quickly added, That's right, we'll bet cities with your Jiang country. If we lose, the Beiwu country will cede 8 cities to your Jiang country. Jiang Wang, do you dare to accept? And this one also wants to bet 6 seats. The Emperor of Fengyue country said, I also bet 6. The Emperor of the brave Warring States Kingdom was also very angry. This Jiang Huang's face was filled with bitterness, and his heart was pounding with excitement. He actually wanted to bet 20 cities. The Jiang Kingdom only had 22 cities in total. If they won, there was no doubt that the Jiang Kingdom would become the largest and most powerful country among the four. This was a good opportunity to expand their territory. However, if they lost, then the Jiang Kingdom would only exist in name. After all, which country only had 2 cities? Father, we won't bet. Qin Hao doesn't deserve it. Zhang Xiaoji said. Jiang Wang nodded. He resisted the great temptation and said fearfully, I won't join you in this round. Ha ha. Did you see that? Even the emperor of the Jiang country is not confident. Qin Hao is most likely a good-for-nothing. What a disgrace. Get out of the arena now. Kneel down and kowtow to Crown Prince Xin Tao. In an instant, the ministers of the other 3 countries pointed at Qin Hao and scolded him. Qin Hao frowned. Jiang Wang actually burned the bridge at such a crucial moment. What a coward. The Jiang country won't do. Let me bet instead. A thick voice rang out from the commoner spectator stands. It was a plump figure. Who do you think you are? You're just a trash commoner. What right do you have to bet with our emperor? A minister of the Bei Wu country scolded the fat man. However, in the next moment, Wu Yingxiong waved his hand and pointed at his minister. Men, throw Shangshu of the Wei Kingdom into the heavenly prison and execute his entire family. After he finished speaking, he hurriedly stood up respectfully from the dragon throne and bowed to the fatty in the commoner's seat with a smile. Little Bear greets, Lord C. My subject spoke arrogantly and deserves to die. I wonder if Lord C is satisfied with Little Bear's punishment? Boom! This scene was like a bomb that exploded in everyone's eyes. The emperor of the Bei Wu country bowed to a commoner. This was something that only happened once in 1,000 years. However, the fat man could accept Wu Yingxiong's bow, because he was Haidafu of the Western Liang Merchant Alliance. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about the main topic. I, Haidafu, am willing to bet with the emperors of the 3 countries for young Master Qin Hao. If I lose, all the wealth I've earned in my life will belong to you. Moreover, I'll help you build a relationship with the Merchant Alliance's leader. Haifei Zi was so angry that his fat face trembled. The emperor of the Jiang country was really a good-for-nothing. At the critical moment, he actually stabbed young Master Qin Hao in the back. Qin Hao had saved Haifei Zi's life. Of course, he had to support Qin Hao. In fact, Haidafu had watched this competition from the beginning to the end. Master Hai, please reconsider. Wu Yingxiong sneered. It wasn't that he despised Haidafu for having too little money. On the contrary, Haidafu had too much money. Not to mention 8 cities. Even if he, Haidafu, bought the entire Bei Wu country, it would be more than enough. What Wu Yingxiong didn't understand was why he would support Qin Hao. Cut the crap. Do you dare to bet? Haidafu stomped his foot and pointed at the faces of the 3 emperors. Since Master Hai has come to give us money, then we won't be polite. The emperor of the valiant warring states country immediately ordered someone to find a brush and ink and draw a contract for 6 cities. Seeing this, the emperor of the Fengyue country also quickly drew 6 cities. Immediately, the bet took effect. If Haidafu won, he would get 20 cities in Bei Wu country. If he lost, the wealth he had worked hard for all his life would instantly vanish in a thin air, and he would become penniless. And his money would be used to build countless armies and weapons for Bei Wu country, the valiant warring states country, and the Fengyue country to conquer other countries. Dafu, why do you have to do this? Qin Hao sighed. It doesn't matter. If it weren't for young master, Haidafu, wouldn't have lasted until today. The money is mine, and it's also yours. We're bound together for good or ill. At least I'm worthy of my conscience, Haidafu said with sincerity. His words were very sincere. Good. Qin Hao was infected by Haidafu's heroic spirit. At the same time, he was moved and said, I will not let you down. In this battle, I will take down 20 cities for you and establish Hai country. No, these 20 cities will be called Xiliang Qin country in the future. Haidafu also suddenly became excited and inexplicably said this sentence. However, this sentence was like a thunderbolt that exploded in the ears of the four emperors. Qin country? The Qin country that was stuck in the four countries? What a big tone. Unfortunately, you are destined to not be able to build the Qin country, because Qin Hao will lose for sure. Wu Jintao laughed sinisterly. He waved his hand and tore the clothes on his body, revealing a set of heavy armor. The armor emitted a golden light, and runes gathered on it. Chapter 236. Gravitational Inscription. It's the heavenly expert armor of the Beiwu royal family. Below the stage, Yap Liangchun was shocked. His heart sank. He knew that Qin Hao was going to lose. No wonder Wu Jintao dared to be arrogant. It turned out that he was hiding a powerful trump card. The heavenly expert armor is the armor of our northern martial country's founding ancestor. Back then, our ancestor relied on this armor to roam the battlefield and sweep everything before him. It was a low-grade defensive weapon. The runes on it were iron armor runes, which were carved by a second-level inscription master. Qin Hao, let's see how you're going to win these 20 cities from me. Wu Jintao's confidence swelled to the extreme. As he spoke, he circulated his ki, causing the heavenly expert armor to shine brightly. The runes on it also began to emit a mysterious glow. In an instant, there was an uproar and exclamation from the audience. A defensive low-grade murder weapon was sufficient to block attacks below the origin ancestor realm. With the addition of the runes, the heavenly expert armor's defensive power would be doubled. If Wu Jintao wore this armor, he would undoubtedly be an unbreakable meat shield. Qin Hao would definitely lose. Interesting. Yining Chong had not expected that Wu Jintao would have such a powerful hidden card. She wanted to see if Qin Hao would be able to break through this set of inscription technique armor in the face of adversity. On the stage, Qin Hao narrowed his eyes, revealing a trace of seriousness. It was true that he could not break the heavenly expert armor with just his physical strength. In other words, Qin Hao could only passively take a beating and could not cause any harm to Wu Jintao. Unfortunately, the purple meteorite sword was also a low-grade weapon, and its material had reached the standard of a saint weapon. It would not be difficult for it to break the heavenly expert armor. But Qin Hao didn't want to do that. His interspatial ring flashed, and he also took out a magic treasure. A big black seal appeared in his hand, and a smile appeared on his face. What is this? A great seal. You want to break the heavenly expert armor? The ministers shook their heads in unison. What a surprise. That's the flipping person seal that Dan Gu gave to the old man. It's also a low-tier weapon. The old demon of the Black Mountain let out a blood-sobbing howl from the audience. The flipping person seal was originally his, but it was snatched away by Qin Hao. This is getting more interesting. The smile on Yuning Chang's face deepened. She felt more and more that Qin Hao seemed to have endless means. Unexpectedly, he also had a low-grade weapon. Unfortunately, the heavenly expert armor was still engraved with iron inscriptions. Qin Hao was still unable to break it. In fact, that was indeed the case. When Wu Jintao saw Qin Hao's seal, he burst into laughter. Save it. My heavenly expert armor has the inscription buff, and its defense will double. Even if your seal is also a low-grade weapon, it can't do anything to me. Really? Qin Hao sneered. He raised his hand, and the flipping person seal floated in front of him. He condensed his golden finger and poked the seal in front of him for a while. His movements were so fast that it was dazzling. In the span of a few breaths, a circle of runes emitting green light began to revolve around the flipping person seal. Suddenly, the seal exuded a vigorous power. Everyone could feel that the flipping person seal's power seemed to have increased. Inscription Master? Oh my God, that kid actually knows how to inscribe inscriptions. Qin Hao's actions once again caused a sensation in the entire arena. Inscription masters were rare and precious, and they were not inferior to alchemists. It could even be said that in terms of rarity, they were even rarer than alchemists. However, they were not as precious as alchemists. Inscription masters were also divided into grades. Qin Hao was currently at the Origin Master realm, and his inscription standard was at the 2nd grade. Your disciple is really admirable. He is simply omnipotent. Fairy Feng Yu's beautiful eyes widened as she repeatedly exclaimed. As a noble lady of the Wind Moon sect, she even admired Qin Hao, this young man. This is indeed beyond my expectations. Chen Kang was very excited. He secretly wondered where Uncle Xian had found such a precious disciple like Qin Hao. At the same time, he was also a little sad because he could not see Qin Hao's shocking methods today. If not, he would be so proud. He must become my disciple, Qiang Bin. Even if his mental strength is only at the 2nd grade, I will take him away. Yining Chang's gaze toward Qin Hao had changed from ordinary to a little interesting, and now it suddenly became fiery. There was even a hint of unbearable thirst in her eyes. In just a few seconds, Qin Hao was able to inscribe inscriptions. With so many methods at such a young age, if he also knew how to refine pills, he would undoubtedly be a precious disciple. In fact, Qin Hao not only knew how to refine pills and inscribe inscriptions, but he also knew how to create arrays and refine weapons. You rascal, listening to everyone's praises as well as Fairy Feng Yu and Yuning Chang's admiration towards Qin Hao, the jealousy in Wu Jintao's heart was about to erupt into a raging inferno. Low-grade murder weapon and inscription technique? I have one too. Moreover, my inscription technique is a set of gravity inscription technique. You have to be careful. Qin Hao smiled as he tossed the flipping man seal in his hand. Bluff. I don't believe that you can casually inscribe inscription techniques. This must be fake. Go to hell. Wu Jintao wore the heavenly expert armor and turned into a human shield as he charged toward Qin Hao. His footsteps caused the arena to rumble. The power of an 8-star Yuan master erupted. The heavenly expert armor firmly protected Wu Jintao's vital points. Even his head was about to be retracted. He had prepared the armor to defeat Wang Gui. He didn't expect to waste it on Qin Hao. You brought this upon yourself. Kneel down. Qin Hao raised his hand and tossed the flipping man's seal into the air. Then, it turned into a huge rock the size of a water tank and smashed down. Before Wu Jintao could run in front of him, the falling flipping man's seal smashed into his head. This blow made Wu Jintao's head dizzy. He saw stars, and his legs couldn't take another step forward. He fell heavily to the ground. At the same time, the inscriptions on the heavenly expert armor seemed to have dimmed. Hiss! The audience gasped. One blow made Wu Jintao kneel. It seemed that Qin Hao wasn't bluffing. The inscription technique he had drawn in a few seconds was real. I've already said that this is a set of gravity inscriptions. Superimposed on the flipping man's seal's strength of 50,000 kilograms, it can directly crush you into meat paste. Do you admit defeat? Qin Hao said fiercely. He didn't want to kill Wu Jintao. You lowly commoner, trash. How dare you make me kneel? I'll kill you. Wu Jintao's eyes were red. He was the dignified northern Wu crown prince, but he was forced to kneel on the ground by Qin Hao. It was a great humiliation. You still dare to be stubborn. Kneel. Qin Hao shouted again. He raised his palms slightly and slashed down with all his might. The flipping man's seal that was pressing on Wu Jintao's head flew into the air again. With a sharp whistling sound, it smashed into Wu Jintao's body. After this blow, the iron inscriptions on the heavenly expert armor cracked and dissipated on the spot. Even the armor creaked as if it couldn't bear the weight. Wu Jintao spat out blood. He was pressed to the ground like a toad and couldn't move at all. I'll give you one last chance. Do you admit defeat? Chapter 237. Psychic Power Test. Don't give me a chance. Otherwise, I'll go to Jiang country and kill your entire family. Wu Jintao lay on the ground, his eyes bloodshot. Kneel. Qin Hao roared and chopped down with his palm. The flipping person seal carried the might of thunder, like a falling meteorite, bombarding Wu Jintao's back. Instantly, the ground trembled under this attack. The arena was smashed apart, and smoke billowed. Wu Jintao's entire body was smashed into the bottom of the arena, 10 meters deep. Ever since Xiao Han had left and the Dan Profound Realm had changed, Qin Hao began to cherish the people around him even more. Wu Jintao didn't know what was good for him. Threatening Qin Hao had infuriated him. Therefore, he didn't hold back in this attack. "Get out here!" Qin Hao stomped his feet on the ground and sent Wu Jintao flying out of the deep pit, falling in front of the four emperors. However, the only thing that came out was the armor that had been twisted into a ball. Wu Jintao had completely disappeared. To be more precise, he was smashed into a bloody pulp by that strike. Clang! The heavenly expert armor was like a rusty piece of iron falling in front of his eyes. Wu Yingxiong stared with his old eyes, unable to make a sound for a long time. He saw Wu Jintao being squashed into a meat paste. After a long while, Wu Yingxiong let out a shrill scream. "My son!" The cries were earth-shattering. Wu Jintao was the #1 genius of the Northern Martial Kingdom and the most beloved son of Wu Yingxiong. He had already been appointed as the crown prince and would inherit the throne in the future. His son was young and promising, and he was already an 8-star master. His dream had always been to defeat Wang Gui. But now, he was smashed in a meat paste by Qin Hao before he could even see the face of the king turtle. Furthermore, Qin Hao had also turned the Beiwu royal family's heirloom, the Tianwu armor, into scrap metal. The monstrous anger was undisguised on his face. The Beiwu emperor gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to burst. Qin Hao consecutively killed the Northern Wu Kingdom's #2 genius, Long Outyin, and the #1 genius, Wu Jintao. He even caused the Northern Wu Kingdom to lose 8 cities. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. "Men, kill for me. Kill all the people of the Jiang nation." After saying that, Wu Yingxiong pounced at Jiang Huang, who was beside him. "Yes." Yining Chong snorted coldly. The voice was cold and threatening, as if it came from the depths of hell. Immediately, Wu Yingxiong stopped what he was doing. He wiped his cold sweat and sat back on the dragon throne. He had lost his composure. It was too risky. If he dared to be impudent in front of Yining Chong of Qiangbin, even if he had 100 heads, he would be twisted off. It didn't matter if one of his sons died. He still had other sons. At worst, he could just appoint another crown prince. That being said, Wu Yingxiong felt a sharp pain in his heart as he stared at the puddles of blood wrapped inside the scrap metal. "Hee, 20 cities, then I won't hold back." Haidafu waved his hand. Sixth brother leaped up and flew to the front of the Beiwu emperor, taking back the 3 contracts. From then on, the 20 cities parted ways with Beiwu, Brave War Kingdom, and Fengyu Kingdom. Sigh. Jiang Wang slammed his fist on his thigh. He regretted listening to Jiang Xiaoji. Otherwise, the 20 cities would join the Jiang Kingdom. The Jiang Kingdom would double in size and become the most powerful kingdom among the 4 kingdoms. "I didn't know it would turn out like this. Father, I really didn't know." Jiang Xiaoji was about to cry. He saw Jiang Huang's gloomy face. "Originally, I wanted to pass the throne to you in 2 years. But now, it seems that you are not qualified enough. Moreover, I have doubts about your ability. I will temporarily strip you of your position as crown prince. After the competition, you will reflect on your mistakes in the palace." Jiang Wang said coldly, "Father, please have mercy. Father, please have mercy." Jiang Xiaoji kept kowtowing in front of Jiang Wang. His heart sank. Obviously, he had been banished to the cold palace. It would be difficult for him to make a comeback in the future. It was all Qin Hao's fault. It was all Qin Hao's fault. Jiang Xiaoji could not help but turn his gaze in Qin Hao's direction and gnash his teeth in hatred. Qin Hao's outstanding performance in this battle had completely changed everyone's view of him. No other contestant dared to challenge Qin Hao anymore. All they had was endless fear. Qin Hao's ability was unbelievable. It was unfathomable. The first round had ended. They had entered the second round of the spiritual power test. Originally, there were 10 contestants participating in the spiritual power test. However, Long Outyin and Wu Jintao were too arrogant and were killed by Qin Hao. In addition, there were 4 other contestants who voluntarily forfeited. They no longer had any hope of becoming the champion. They should be thanking their ancestors if they could survive in the hands of Qin Hao. The next contestants participating in the spiritual power test were Qin Hao, Zhao Tian, Yap Liangchun, and a disciple of the Wind Moon Palace, Dan Chuanxiu. In addition, Jiang Xiaoji was also allowed to participate. After all, there had to be at least 5 contestants. In the past, there were only 10 contestants. If not, it would make Qiangbin look bad. This was all Qin Hao's fault. He had scared away 4 contestants. So what if your cultivation is high? So what if your cultivation technique is strong? So what if you have a peerless divine soldier? Spiritual power is very important to Qiangbin. Will I get first place? I will make you pay. Jiang Xiaoji secretly threatened Qin Hao. This was his only chance to turn the tables. There was no way out. Otherwise, he would be banished to the cold palace and lose his position as the crown prince. He was very confident in his spiritual power grade. He had to admit that Qin Hao had given him a chance to prove himself. However, he did not feel grateful to Qin Hao, only hatred. As everyone knew, spiritual power was linked to talent. From weak to strong, it was divided into 10 grades. The higher the spiritual power grade, the faster the cultivation speed. To a large extent, it determined a person's achievements. This included alchemy, inscriptions, formations, and weapon forging. If a person's spiritual power was especially strong, it would be much easier for them to learn compared to others. It could be said to be extremely important. Between the words, Yuning Chong waved her hand and a bright light shone in the field. As the light gradually dissipated, a mysterious stone appeared in front of everyone. Just like Chun Kang's test of Qin Hao, this was also a soul-testing stone. Put your palm in the groove and activate your vitality. The stone will spit out white light. That is your spiritual power grade. 10 feet is the first grade, 2 feet is the second grade, and so on. Su Tianlei opened his mouth and said coldly. Wu Jintao, who he had decided on, died, making him feel very embarrassed. All right, the second round begins. This time, Yuning Chong opened her mouth and said. Her gaze was always fixed on Qin Hao. She did not know how Qin Hao's spiritual power grade was. Was it particularly high, or was it ordinary? With all due respect, Qin Hao's spiritual power grade is only 5th grade. So, geniuses, don't be afraid. He will lose. The quota to enter the 4 major academies may not be Qin Hao's. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the audience. Everyone looked and saw that it was the red-eyed old man Gui Hai. Chu Sheng had secretly revealed to old man Gui Hai about the spiritual power competition with Qin Hao. Ha! If that's the case, then Liang Chun will embarrass himself. Yi Liangchun was the first to walk up gracefully. He turned back and said, I'm sorry, Brother Hao. I'm afraid your first place will be snatched by me, because my spiritual power grade is far better than yours. Your performance just now was just a clown. In the end, it was all for nothing. Chapter 238. Chapter 238. So what if he wasn't convinced? Activate Yuan Qi. 1. The soul-testing stone emitted a layer of light. In an instant, the light expanded and a beam of light shot up into the sky from the stone. 10 feet. 2 zhang. 30 feet. It was still climbing. 40 zhang. 5 zhang. He had surpassed Qin Hao. 60 zhang. After reaching 6 zhang, the speed came to a stop. It also meant that Yap Liangchen's spiritual power was at the 6th level. However, he had indeed surpassed Qin Hao's previous rank 5. This made Yi Liangchun very happy. He was very proud of himself. He had finally turned the tables. All along, all the contestants had been suppressed by Qin Hao. However, Yi Liangchun had defeated Qin Hao. I've told you that I never speak empty words. You just need to remember that my name is Yi Liangchun. Yi Liangchun flung his sleeves and stood back. Then, he glared at Qin Hao as if he was saying, You're not as good as me. The quota to enter Qiangbin belongs to me, Yi Liangchun. Go eat sh*t. In response, Qin Hao chuckled. Rank 6 mentality, what a rare sight. As expected, of Fengyue country's #1 genius. We finally killed that freak Qin Hao. The ministers below the stage also heaved a sigh of relief, feeling much better. Otherwise, he would really be suffocated to death. 6th rank? It's SOSO. Yining Chang shook her head. There were plenty of students at Qiyang University with this level of spiritual power. They were the most common students. Obviously, she was not satisfied with Yi Liangqin's performance. However, if Qin Hao's mental strength was only at the 5th level, it would make things difficult for Yining Chang. Although Qin Hao could defeat Yi Liangqin now, he would not be as fast as Yi Liangqin in cultivation in the future. Furthermore, the further one progressed, the greater the disparity. It was a pity that Qin Hao was such a seedling. Next was Jiang Xiaoji. Qin Hao, just you wait. I'll let you know whose spiritual power is stronger and who is more qualified to become Qiang Bin's disciple. Jiang Xiaoji flicked Qin Hao's sleeve and stepped forward to stand in front of the soul testing stone. Placing his palm into the groove, Zhang Xian began to circulate his ki. Instantly, the soul testing stone shone brightly, and a ray of white light shot up into the sky. 10 feet, 2 zhang, 30 feet, 5 zhang. It continued to ascend, but its speed became abnormally slow. In the end, he was stuck between level 6 and level 5. No matter how hard Jiang Xiaoji tried, he couldn't break through the barrier at all. He shook his head and retreated. He had bragged too much and was slapped in the face by Yi Liangqin. Even so, a hint of pride could be seen on his face. Even though he was not as strong as Yi Liangqin, his spiritual power was stronger than Qin Hao's. At least in the Jiang Kingdom, he was a #1 genius. Father should consider letting me continue to be the crown prince, Jiang Xiaoji said to himself. Trash. Su Tianlei curled his lips in disdain. Jiang Xiaoji's spiritual power was the weakest in Qiang Bin since he was not even at level 6. Ha! Level 6 spiritual power? I, Zhao Ritian, will be the first to disagree. A thunderous voice was heard. Zhao Ritian strode toward the soul-testing stone like a ferocious tiger. Just as he was about to place his palm into the groove, he turned around and looked at Qin Hao and the rest. Forgive me for being blunt. Other than my spiritual power, all of you are trash. With a sinister laugh, Zhao Ritian placed his palm into the groove. At that moment, the soul-testing stone began to shake violently. Even the ground was shaking. Su Tianlei's eyes lit up. He could not help but stand up from his chair. The scene before him showed that Zhao Ritian's spiritual power was not to be underestimated. Take a good look at the old man. My disciple Ritian is the true #1 genius. He is, and will be in the future. He will become the only disciple of Qiang Bin. All of you, get ready to kneel down and lick the old man's boots. Ha! The sky-bearing faction's leader slapped his thigh and laughed. As he laughed, he glared at Chun Kang and the drunkard. At that moment, a ray of white light shot up into the sky from Zhao Ritian's palm. The intense vibrational force caused the space around them to distort. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet. It had surpassed Yap Liangqin's spiritual power. At that moment, Zhao Ritian was ecstatic. He was currently the highest and would definitely enter Qiang Bin. In the future, he would reach the peak and become a powerhouse that could stir up the entire Western Liang. Money, beautiful women, status, and power were all at his fingertips. He could even decide the life and death of a country with a single sentence. Zhao Ritian fell into a beautiful dream. He was so excited that he could not extricate himself. Ha! I haven't used all my strength yet. Yap Liangqin, Qin Hao, you two trash. Open your eyes wide and continue to rise. Accompanied by a loud roar, the ray of white light shot out from Zhao Ritian's palm was like a wild donkey that was trying its best to run. It was going to reach level 7 soon. Suddenly, Su Tianlei's face was filled with undisguised excitement. If he really reached level 7, then Zhao Ritian would be qualified to enter Qiang Bin. As for Qin Hao, a mere level 5. Trash should stay in the trash can. Want to go to the Luo Shui Empire? No way. Buzz. As he spoke, the ray of white light rose another 10 feet. This 10 feet was Zhao Ritian's limit. This meant that his spiritual power had indeed reached level 7. How is it? You dare to call yourselves geniuses in front of me? I, Zhao Ritian, will be the first to disagree. What's the use of working hard? You're destined to not be as fast as me in the future. You're only fit to be my stepping stones. Zhao Ritian wiped the sweat off his forehead. His mind was in a daze. It was obvious that his body could not take it after activating such a strong spiritual power. But it was worth it, because he was going to become Qiangbin's disciple. This was almost certain. Damn it! Yap Liangchun clenched his fists. His trembling face was distorted. He had just shown off and was immediately suppressed by Zhao Ritian. His dream of becoming Qiangbin's disciple was ruined. Moreover, Zhao Ritian was a true genius. This time, Yap Liangchun was completely convinced. The test continued. Next up was Wind Moon Palace's disciple, Dan Xuanxiu. Unfortunately, Dan Xuanxiu only managed to activate level 5 spiritual power. It was similar to Qin Hao's spiritual power in the past. It was destined that Qiangbin was not fated to be his disciple. Haha, my disciple Ritian is really awesome. He really made old man proud. Drunkard and Chun Kang, are you two going to admit defeat? The Sky Pillar faction's leader stood up from his chair and walked towards Chun Kang. He then pointed at his opponent's nose provocatively. At this moment, Chun Kang looked dispirited and powerless. After all, Qin Hao's spiritual power was only at level 5. He had already tested it before. He performed so well in the first round of the competition. In the end, it was all thanks to someone else. Chun Kang felt sorry for Qin Hao. God is blind. Uncle Xian must be very disappointed. Not necessarily, a determined voice shouted. Qin Hao stepped forward and stood in front of the soul testing stone. His action shocked everyone. What? You're not convinced? So what if you're not convinced? You're just a useless disciple. You won't be able to achieve anything in the future. Just be a good boy and hide in Chun Kang's pants. Chapter 239. I can't stop. One must know one's limits. You're merely a 5th stage spiritual power. You won't be as promising as me in the future. Yet, you want to challenge young Master Ritian's 7th stage spiritual power? How shameless. Yi Liangchun glanced at Qin Hao sarcastically. Then, he quickly went to Zhao Ritian and bowed. Actually, Liangchun has admired Brother Ritian for a long time, especially when Brother Ritian said, I, Zhao Ritian, am the first to disagree with you. It was so domineering and full of manliness. Liangchun is ashamed of his inferiority. I wonder if Liangchun will become Brother Ritian's follower. In the future, when Brother Ritian tells me to go east, I won't dare to go west. I only hope that in the future, when you become an influential figure in the land of Western Liang, you can slightly promote Liangchun. That's right. I, Jiang Xiaoji, have admired young Master Ritian for a long time. My heart is burning with passion. Actually, from the very beginning, I felt that Brother Ritian had an 80% chance of winning. I also want to become Brother Ritian's follower. I hope that you can give me the qualifications to be your lackey. Jiang Xiaoji was so close to kneeling in front of Zhao Ritian. If he could establish a relationship with a disciple of Qiangbin like Zhao Ritian, it would be of great help to Jiang Xiaoji in becoming the next emperor of the Jiang Kingdom. All right, since you guys are so good at bootlicking, I, Zhao Ritian, will reluctantly accept you guys as my lackeys. Zhao Ritian smiled proudly. Yi Liangchun still had some strength. Jiang Xiaoji might become the emperor of the Jiang Kingdom in the future. Having a genius and an emperor as lackeys was still a very satisfying thing. Since that's the case, Elder Yun and Elder Su, please quickly announce my disciple as Qiangbin's disciple. The Sky Pillar sect leader said impatiently. Yuning Cheng sighed slightly, looked at Su Tianlei, and was about to announce. Wait, Qin Hao stopped him and said, I haven't participated in the spiritual power test yet. Isn't it unfair to announce that Zhao Ritian is first? The ministers were once again stunned. Was Qin Hao really going to take the test? What's the point of continuing the test when you're merely at the 5th stage? You're destined to be useless. Hurry up and scram. The Sky Pillar sect leader waved his hand impatiently. It's fate. It's the will of the heavens. Let's go. At this time, Chun Kang and the drunkard stood up and prepared to take Qin Hao back. Even if Qin Hao lost in terms of mental power, in their hearts, Qin Hao was still outstanding. However, in the future, Qin Hao might not be able to catch up with Chen Wanqin and Xiaogua. I don't believe in gods, ghosts, heaven, or fate. I only believe in myself. I must participate in the psychic power test. Qin Hao is very stubborn. He stretched out his hand and pressed it into the groove. Fine, I'll let you give up completely. Let's see how you're going to clean up the mess when the test shows that you're only a rank 5. The Sky Pillar sect leader said coldly. He did not take Qin Hao seriously at all. In this regard, Chun Kang and the drunkard shook their heads helplessly. Qin Hao was too stubborn. He had just taken the test a month ago. Could it be that his mental power could still increase? In fact, mental power was innate. Once it was formed, it was eternal. Buzz! As he spoke, a circle of light flashed from Qin Hao's palm. The halo was very weak, and its speed was extremely slow. It only rose 1 foot high. This rank 1 mental power. It's blind to my dog eyes. This is 2F** King exciting. It's a rare sight. He's not even as good as old man's trashiest outer disciple. At this moment, the audience boiled over again. This time, the boiling over was not cheering for Qin Hao. Instead, it was endless mockery and sarcasm. This was because his mental power was only at rank 1. Yining Chong frowned. How could Qin Hao only have rank 1 mental power? This was completely different from the strength that he displayed. A trashy rank 1 mental power killed my disciple, Outyin. Outyin died unjustly. Grandmaster Tianwu was in tears. He felt that it was not worth it for Outyin. Wu Yingxiong was also not worth it. If Wu Jintao did not meet with an accident, his mental power would not be much weaker than Zhao Ritian's. It was all because of a smelly bug like Qin Hao that his precious son had died from the stench. How could this be? This is not possible. Chun Kang rubbed his eyes with all his might and looked at the light beam emitted by the testing stone once again. It was indeed only 1 foot high. Qin Hao's mental power did not improve. Instead, it had regressed. This was unbelievable. At this moment, even Qin Hao was stunned. It was not because his mental power had regressed. In fact, his mental power had never regressed. It was because Qin Hao was currently thinking about how much of his emperor-level mental power should he release. If it was too high, it would inevitably attract the jealousy of others and bring about a fatal disaster. Then I'll release rank 7 like Zhao Ritian. Nodding secretly, Qin Hao continued to activate his primordial qi. Suddenly, the white light continued to rise. 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. The speed was very slow, but it did not stop. This guy's mental power rank has increased again. Strange. So what? It's only rank 4. It's worlds apart from Zhao Ritian. That's right. He's destined to be trash. Discussions could be heard all around. Qin Hao did not bother to respond. He continued to activate his primordial qi. The beam of light under his palm rose to 50 feet. It had reached Qin Hao's original height. Moreover, the momentum did not stop. Looking at the rising white light, Chun Kang began to get excited. A glimmer of hope lit up on his face. His mental power had indeed increased. Yining Chong let out a cry of surprise. At this time, the white light under Qin Hao's palm had already risen to a height of 60 feet. She nodded with a smile. She seemed to have made a decision in her heart. Even if Qin Hao's mental power was not as high as Zhao Ritian's, she decided to bring Qin Hao back to Qiangbin. Although Qin Hao could not become a disciple of the academy, Yining Chang's status as an outer elder was still qualified to accept an apprentice. She decided to keep Qin Hao by her side. Perhaps Qin Hao would be mocked by the other disciples in the academy. However, to Qin Hao, it was far better for him to follow her than to live in this trashy and barren country. Unfortunately, Yin Chang's calculations were wrong, because the white light under Qin Hao's palm had already surpassed rank 6. It was currently breaking through to rank 7. This. It hasn't stopped. What kind of monster is this guy? Hurry up and make him stop. The Atlas faction's leader was anxious. An inexplicable sense of fear grew in everyone's hearts. Seeing this, the Atlas faction's leader gritted his teeth and hit Qin Hao's back with his palm. He had to stop this monster. Qin Hao's mental power was about to reach rank 7. Although it was rising slowly, it did not stop at all. It was a serious threat to Zhao Ritian's position. As for Zhao Ritian, he was dumbfounded. He felt that his dream of becoming a disciple of Qiang Bin was about to be ruined. Get lost. Yining Chong waved her hand, and a strong light blasted on the Atlas faction's leader in the blink of an eye. The Atlas faction's leader screamed. Before he could run to Qin Hao's side, he was blasted away by the attack. His clothes were torn, and he fell to the ground with bruises all over his body. He could not get up anymore. How dare you obstruct Qiang University's disciple assessment in front of me? You must be tired of living. Chapter 240. Chapter 240. Come on, make a wish. Oh my God, everyone look! Someone exclaimed. Yining Chong subconsciously looked up at the sky. Her delicate body trembled when she saw the rising white light. The soul testing stone in Qin Hao's hand suddenly released a ring of light. The slowly rising white light actually broke through the limit of the 6th stage and reached a height of 7 zhong. This also indicated that Qin Hao's spiritual power was at the 7th level. The scene before their eyes deeply shocked everyone. Qin Hao once again used his actions to prove that he was not trash. He was qualified to slap Zhao Ritian in the face. Jiang Xiaoji and Yu Liangchun, in particular, turned pale when they saw the white light that was 70 feet tall. They could not accept the reality before their eyes. Guihai, who had slandered Qin Hao, was so ashamed that he buried his head deep into his crotch. He was too ashamed to see anyone. Good. At this moment, Chun Kang was so excited that he said the word good 3 times in a row. His throat was a little choked up, and the corners of his eyes began to moisten. Old ghost Dan Xian risked his life to refine the 6 revolving origin spirit pill for you. As your master, he will be proud of you. The drunkard said with a sad face. Qin Hao did not disappoint Dan Xian. Not bad. You're qualified to become a disciple of Qiang Bin. Now, I announce that Qin Hao is the overall champion of the 2 rounds of the 4-nation tournament and will be entering the Luo Shui Empire's Qiang Bin. Yining Chong immediately announced the final result. Qin Hao's level 7 spiritual strength was not the highest in Qiang Bin, but it was still among the top in the outer sanctum. In particular, he also knew inscription techniques. His origin skills were very mysterious, and Yining Chong quite admired him. This trip was not in vain. He had managed to find a qualified student for Qiang University. Qin Hao must have cheated. His mental strength was only at level 1 at the beginning. The Sky Pillar sect leader let out a hoarse cry. Qin Hao must have used some dishonorable method. I, Zhao Ritian, will be the first to object to Qin Hao becoming Qiang Bin's disciple. Zhao Ritian felt that it was unfair. That's right, senior sister Yin. Qin Hao and Zhao Ritian are both level 7 mental energy. Why did you choose Qin Hao and not Zhao Ritian? Su Tianlei asked. What? You dare to question my decision? Yining Chang's pretty face tightened as she questioned sternly. Junior apprentice brother wouldn't dare. Whatever senior apprentice sister says is what it is. In fact, my thoughts are the same as senior apprentice sisters. From the beginning, I was very optimistic about Qin Hao. Now that he has become a disciple of our academy, I am very happy. I have to say that senior sister Yun has a discerning eye. Su Tianlei quickly lowered his head. Moreover, he was flattering Yining Shang. As for Qin Hao cheating, are you suspecting the soul testing stone that I brought? Yun Ingchang's dignified gaze looked at the Sky Pillar sect leader again. She slowly raised her slender, jade-like hand. In her palm, there was an orange glow. If the Sky Pillar sect leader dared to suspect Qin Hao, it was equivalent to suspecting Yining Chang. Suspecting Yuning Chong was undoubtedly provoking Qiangbin. A trashy sect leader from a trashy country was only a level 9 Yuan master. Yuning Chong could kill him thousands of times with a flick of her finger. I don't dare. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. The Sky Pillar sect leader was so scared that he knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. He still wanted to live for 2 more years. How could he dare to challenge Qiangbin's elders? And you, I'm a level 4 Yuan master. I can kill Long Outyin and Wu Jintao. You, Zhao Ritian, are so scared that you don't even dare to go up the stage. If you dare to fight with me and win, I, Qin Hao, will give you the position of a disciple of Qiyang University. Qin Hao looked at Zhao Ritian with a sharp gaze. Even if their spiritual power was the same, Qin Hao was able to kill enemies above his level with his weak strength. On the other hand, although Zhao Ritian's voice was louder than anyone else, he was as timid as a mouse. He didn't even dare to go up the stage. You bastard. Zhao Ritian was so ashamed that Qin Hao exposed his scar. He wanted to find a hole to hide in. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to fight with Qin Hao. Long Outyin couldn't block Qin Hao's finger. Wu Jintao was wearing the heavenly expert armor that was engraved with runes. However, he was also smashed in a meat paste by Qin Hao. Zhao Ritian's strength was not as strong as Long Outyin and Wu Jintao. Therefore, it was natural for Qin Hao to obtain the quota to enter the Scarlet Sun Martial Institution. Actually, I have long known that Brother Hao is extraordinary. Liangshan has admired Brother Hao for a long time. I wonder if I will be lucky enough to become Brother Hao's follower. Brother Hao asked me to go east, but I don't dare to go west. In the future, when Brother Hao becomes one of the most influential people in the land of Western Liang, you only need to give me a little push. Yap Liangshan quickly moved from Zhao Ritian to Qin Hao's position. The fawning look on his face was self-evident. That's right. I, Jiang Xiaoji, have admired Child Qin Hao for a long time. My heart is burning with passion. From the beginning to the end, I only admire one person. That person is the Holy King of Fengli Temple, Brother Qin Hao. I also want to become Brother Hao's follower. I hope that you can give me the chance to be your follower. It would be my honor. Jiang Xiaoji quickly moved from Zhao Ritian to Qin Hao's position. After the dust settled, it was an indisputable fact that Qin Hao had become a disciple of the Scarlet Sun Martial Institution. If they did not mend their relationship now, they would not have the chance in the future. Both of you are useless. Zhao Ritian was furious. He had just taken in 2 dogs, but in the blink of an eye, his beloved dogs were squatting at Qin Hao's feet. Moreover, Yap Liangshan and Jiang Xiaoji were glaring at Zhao Ritian. It seemed like they would pounce on him if Qin Hao gave the order. What? Are you not convinced? Qin Hao sneered. No. I am convinced. Actually, I, Zhao Ritian, have admired Child Qin Hao for a long time. My admiration for him is like a river flowing endlessly. I wonder if I am lucky enough to join Yap Liangshan and Jiang Xiaoji's team and become Master Hao's follower. If you ask me to go east, I will not go west. If you ask me to stab someone, I will not even frown and stab him to death. Zhao Ritian chuckled. His face was filled with flattery. He obediently stood in a row with Yap Liangshan and Jiang Xiaoji. They looked like Qin Hao's servants. This scene blinded the eyes of the ministers of various countries. Zhao Ritian's attitude changed faster than flipping a book. Since all of you are convinced, then, Qin Hao, Yuning Chong smiled. You have a chance to make a wish to me. No matter what it is, as long as it is within my power, I will fulfill your wish. Whether you want to be an emperor, I will give you pills or martial arts. Gasps could be heard in the arena. This was the benefit of becoming Qiangbin's disciple. With just one word from Yuning Chong, you would be able to rise to the top and become the most powerful person in the world. Even if there were a bunch of beauties, a lot of money, a peerless pill, or martial arts, you could easily hold them in your hands. Qin Hao thought for a while. Emperor? Pills? Martial arts? Am I right? I don't care. However, if a beautiful elder sister like you is willing to be my temporary follower and do my laundry, cook, and serve me tea, I will make do. Of course, Qin Hao could only think about it. Chapter 241. Chapter 241. In Chapter 241, the king turtle appears. I want you. Qin Hao was just about to say that he needed her help to save someone. At this moment, a sneer that was filled with disdain and contempt resounded from the periphery of the arena. Along with the sound of footsteps, he slowly walked over. Everyone looked in the direction of the laughter, and their eyes lit up. This was a handsome man and a beautiful woman. The woman was beautiful and had a voluptuous figure. Obviously, she was often nourished by men. However, her expression was obscure, and there was a vicious look in her eyes. Beside the woman was a man in a blue robe. The man was tall and handsome. His temperament was much better than Yi Liangqin's. His eyes were especially sharp. As it appeared, the corners of Qin Hao's mouth curled up. What should come still came. The woman was the immoral Tang Fei. The man beside her looked very similar to Wang Gui, so he was undoubtedly Wang Gui. However, Wang Gui's aura was more than 10 times stronger than Wang Gui's. At this moment, Tang Fei was accompanying Wang Gui like a maid. Just some time ago, Qin Hao also learned that Wang Gui had been accepted by Shifang Academy. His appearance at the Scarlet Sun Martial Institution's competition today was undoubtedly to support Tang Fei. Obviously, he was also here to settle the score with Qin Hao. Wang Gui walked into the arena. The aura he exuded made it so that no one dared to stop him. He glanced at the white light in the sky. At this moment, Qin Hao's hand was still on the soul testing stone. A mere 7th stage spiritual force is just SOSO. Wang Gui's words were filled with undisguised disdain. His body was also filled with noble arrogance. His words immediately ignited the entire arena. Who the hell was this guy? Qin Hao crushed the geniuses of various countries along the way. His spiritual power had reached as high as the 7th grade. In this man's eyes, she was just SOSO. He's too arrogant. How arrogant. You're not putting the contestants of our 4 countries in your eyes. Qin Hao was, after all, the recognized champion of the 4 countries. He represented everyone's sense of glory. However, he was trampled on and mocked by this man. This immediately caused the other contestants to be dissatisfied. How dare you barge into Qiangbin's preliminaries? You even dare to spout nonsense and disdain my academy's disciples. Are you King courting death? Su Tianlei angrily slammed the table and stood up. Since Qin Hao had become a disciple of the Scarlet Flame Martial Institution, as an elder, he had the responsibility to protect him. Moreover, it was also an opportunity for him to express his goodwill to Qin Hao. After all, Qin Hao was someone that Yining Chang liked. If not for Wang Gui's extraordinary bearing, Su Tianlei would have already struck him with his palm. Are you blind? This is my, Wang Bi's, elder brother. A mournful howl burst out from the Jiang country's spectator stand. Then a guy wearing a luxurious python robe, but with a lame leg, came to Wang Gui's side, one tall and one short. He hugged Wang Gui's thigh and said, "Big brother, you finally appeared. Kill Qin Hao. Quickly kill him. He tricked that old bastard Lu Do into crippling my leg." Wang Gui's eyes were red as he clenched his teeth. The enmity of his broken leg was absolutely irreconcilable. Not only that, he even let Lu Do kill my golden armored guard. Another person flew to Wang Gui's side. It was Tang Xian. Now that his awesome son-in-law was here, he naturally didn't have to hide in the audience anymore. He also didn't have to fear Chen Kang and the drunkard. He had to let Wang Gui kill Qin Hao. And my housekeeper Zogo. Little prince, you must uphold justice for me. Second elder Tang Kuan also ran out. Holy son, quickly avenge the old man. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Old man guy suddenly found a backer, like a wild boar arching at the feet of Wang Gui. You bunch of trash, who the *CK are you? Su Tianlei was about to go crazy. Wang Gui, Tang Xian, and Tang Kuan jumped out one after another like fleas. In this sacred preliminaries, they disregarded Qiangbin's authority. This was disdain for Su Tianlei. He, son of the Jiang Kingdom's pillar general, Wang Gui. Wang Gui smiled faintly and glanced at Su Tianlei coldly. His eyes were filled with disrespect and even contempt. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a thunderclap in everyone's ears. Almost all the influential figures in the Four Kingdoms had heard of Wang Gui's name a long time ago. It could be said that Wang Gui was the real #1 prodigy in the Four Kingdoms. Long Outyin and Wu Jintao were not even qualified to lift Wang Gui's boots. Wang Gui did have the right to be arrogant. At this moment, Jiang Huang was extremely nervous. Out of the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the pillar of the State General, Wang Ba. Wang Ba was sitting in the minister's seat with a sinister look on his face. He also made a throat-slitting gesture at Jiang Huang. This action scared Jiang Huang so much that his face turned pale. He knew that Wang Ba was going to make use of the power behind Wang Gui to rebel. "Oh, it's you. Weren't you recruited by the Shifeo Academy? Why did you come to Qiangbin's arena? You even insulted my disciple?" Su Tianlei said with a sullen face. However, his tone was much softer than before. Wang Gui was backed by the Shifeo Academy. In terms of strength, Qiang University was no match for the Shifeo Academy. Yining Chong didn't say anything. She stared coldly at the void behind Wang Gui. It was as if there was someone hiding in the void. "I'm only here to settle some personal grudges. I don't intend to disrespect Qiangbin. I'll leave immediately after killing a piece of trash." Of course, what I said just now is that a 7th grade spiritual power is nothing. Wang Gui said casually with a casual smile on his face. The crowd was in an uproar. A 7th grade spiritual power is nothing? At this moment, even Su Tianlei laughed. "If you think that my disciple is weak, then I'd like to ask, what's the grade of your spiritual power, Wang Gui? Prick up your ears and listen carefully. My master's mental strength is as high as the 8th level. He is a peerless genius. How can a lowly person like Qin Hao compare to him?" Without waiting for Wang Gui to speak, Tang Fei shouted at Qin Hao. She jumped up and scolded him like a shrew. She was suppressed by Qin Hao time and time again. Her reputation was at its worst. Today, she could finally wash away her shame. However, Tang Fei no longer dared to dream of becoming Wang Gui's woman. To be able to be a lowly slave by his side was already Tang Fei's greatest honor. She was even proud of being his slave. 8th grade spiritual power? In response, the ministers of the various countries sneered. There was no proof. Who would believe it? Then, in the next moment, everyone's laughter was stuck in their throats. Wang Gui gently stretched out his palm and activated the elemental energy in his body. A small beam of light slowly rose from his palm. It was like a bamboo. 1 section, 2 sections, it kept growing. In the end, the bamboo grew to 8 sections. In fact, once a cultivator measured their spiritual power grade, they didn't need to use the soul testing stone to measure it. They could also reveal their spiritual power grade. The 8-section bamboo in Wang Gui's palm was obviously telling everyone that his spiritual power had reached 8th grade. Chapter 242. Level 10 Spiritual Power. Not only does my master possess a spiritual power of the 8th rank, but he's also awakened the Black Tortoise bloodline. He might even become a Monarch stage powerhouse within 20 years by relying on his rapid cultivation speed. Not to mention in this small Western Liang, even in the Daqin Empire of the East Continent, my master Wang Gui is a first-class genius. Tang Fei said proudly. It was as if the person who would become an Emperor stage expert in the future was not Wang Gui, but her, Tang Fei. These words caused everyone to sigh endlessly. Even Yining Shang was startled. He was so stunned that he looked like a statue. In the entire Western Liang, there were only a handful of Monarch realm experts. Among them, Emperor Luo Shui had just entered the Emperor's stage. But now, Wang Gui was almost 100% sure that he could become an emperor. Of course, the premise was that he didn't die. She had to admit that at this moment, Yining Chong was indeed very surprised. The tortoise was a treasure that the 10 Directions Academy had picked up. Even if Qin Hao's performance was not bad, compared to Wang Gui, it was simply incomparable. This was because Yuning Chong did not find any special constitution in Qin Hao. The difference in their physiques would determine their future achievements. It was a world of difference. I have already said that Qin Hao is not good enough. Only Big Brother Turtle is worthy of being the #1 person in the 4 countries. My name is Yi Liangchen. I am a small genius from the Fengyue country. Of course, a genius like me is nothing in front of Big Brother Turtle. I won't hide it from Big Brother Turtle, but I have admired you for a long time. I wonder if I would be lucky enough to become Big Brother Turtle's follower. In the future, I would be able to wash clothes, cook, and pour tea for you. You want me to go east, but I don't dare to go west. In the future, Big Brother Wang Gui will become an influential figure in the land of Western Liang. All you need to do is to promote Liang Chun a little. Seizing the opportunity, Yi Liangchun threw himself at the turtle's feet. That's right, that's right. I, Jiang Xiaoji, have never had a shred of confidence in Qin Hao. In my heart, Big Brother Wang Gui is the #1 genius. To be honest, I have admired Big Brother Wang Gui for a long time. Qin Hao dares to compare himself with you. He must be tired of living. Little G also wants to be Brother Turtle's follower. I hope you can give me the qualification to be your lackey. It would be Little G's great honor. And I, Zhao Ritian, the first person I admire is Big Brother Wang Gui. I may not be talented, but I am a #1 genius of the brave Warring States Kingdom. Of course, this genius of mine was actually bullshit. In my heart, 10,000 Qin Haos couldn't even compare to a single strand of leg hair of Big Brother Turtle. My respect for you is endless. I wonder if I'm lucky enough to join Yap Liangchen and Jiang Xiaoji's team and become Brother Gui's follower. In the future, if you ask me to go east, I will definitely not go west. Who do you want me to stab? I won't even frown. I'll stab them to death with one stab. Zhao Ritian and Jiang Xiaoji immediately shook off Qin Hao and squatted under the turtle's crotch like 2 big dogs. At this moment, the entire arena was shocked. Wang Gui was indeed the evilest of evilest evildoers. The moment he appeared, he immediately shocked Yap Liangchun and Zhao Ritian. That's why I said, Qin Hao, so what if you have level 7 spiritual power? In front of me, Wang Gui, you are just a piece of trash. Wang Gui chuckled coldly and dispersed the small light beam in his palm. Then, he nodded satisfactorily at Yap Liangchun and the other 2. With 2 geniuses and a future emperor as his lackeys, Wang Gui was quite proud. Since you guys are so good at sucking up to me, I will reluctantly accept the 3 of you as my lackeys. Thank you so much, Big Brother Wang Gui. The 3 of them were overjoyed. They kept kowtowing to express their gratitude. Don't you think it's too early to jump to conclusions? Qin Hao looked straight at Wang Gui. He was calm and composed. He even looked at Yap Liangchun and the other 2 with disdain. Wang Gui's level 8 spiritual power and the Black Tortoise's bloodline were indeed slightly more powerful than Qin Hao had expected. However, it was only slightly more powerful. What do you mean? Wang Gui could not understand. Qin Hao was such a piece of trash. Even his lackeys had left him and turned into traitors. How could he still be so calm? Qin Hao should have come over and kowtowed to him. Your level 8 spiritual power has taken shape. However, mine is not. The corners of Qin Hao's mouth curled up. His words stunned everyone. Could it be? Qin Hao had not used his full strength. Could it be that his spiritual power could still grow? Then, everyone looked at Qin Hao's palm. His palm was still in the groove. Everyone could not help but swallow their saliva. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Arrogant, Wang Gui roared. Back when Shifeo Academy tested him, Wang Gui used all his strength. He was so tired that his anus was about to burst. However, his spiritual power barely reached level 8. Now, Qin Hao dared to mock his level 8 spiritual power. He did not know where Qin Hao got his courage from. You'll know soon enough whether I'm arrogant or not. Rise. After saying that, Qin Hao exerted force on his palm. Vitality surged out and slammed into the groove. In the next moment, above the soul testing stone, the 7-meter-tall light pillar rose again. It reached 8 meters. Moreover, this time, there was no trace of obstruction at all. It simply blasted to 80 feet with a crushing force. The 8-meter-tall light pillar was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Qin Hao's spiritual power had reached its peak. How could this be? Wang Gui's face froze. His heart began to sink. He was the #1 genius in the Four Nations. He had the precious black tortoise bloodline. His spiritual power had reached level 8. He had always been a dragon among men. He had never been defeated. Now he was slapped in the face by Qin Hao, whom he looked down on. This caused Wang Gui to feel a deep sense of oppression and great humiliation. He was not as good as Qin Hao. Open your dog eyes and see who's the trash between us. Who's the arrogant one now? And Tang Fei, you better watch carefully too, including that old man Gui Hai. Open your eyes wide and look carefully. Qin Hao shouted. The 8-meter-tall light pillar continued to rise under his palm. It reached 9 meters. 9 meters. It had completely surpassed Wang Gui. Moreover, it did not stop there. Rise again. At the same time, Qin Hao continued to inject vitality into the light pillar. Buzz. The 9-meter-tall light pillar emitted an intense brilliance. It dispersed the clouds and shook the sky until it reached a height of 10 meters. It was like a pillar that pierced through the sky. It was even more dazzling than the sun. It was extremely majestic. It shone on Qin Hao, who was below like a god. No one dared to look directly at him. At this moment, the entire place let out a deafening roar. It was too spectacular. Level 10 spiritual power. A rare genius that only appeared once in 100 years. Suddenly, Chun Kang could no longer hold it in. Tears streamed down his face. The drunkard raised his head and howled excitedly. He grabbed the wine gourd above his head and swung it around excitedly. Wang Gui was also completely dumbfounded. Tang Fei, Tang Xian, and old man Gui Hai were paralyzed on the ground. Wang Gui, whom they had high hopes for, was defeated. He had suffered a crushing defeat in front of Qin Hao, and his spiritual power was 2 grades lower. Very good, very good. It can't be any better. Yining Chong was so excited that she lost her composure. She clenched her fists tightly. Chapter 243. Take your life. In fact, I've always believed that Brother Hao is the best. Just now, I just wanted to spy on Wang Gui, so I endured the humiliation and deliberately betrayed him. Brother Hao, my loyalty to you is witnessed by heaven and earth. Seeing this, Yi Liangshan quickly rolled back. That's right. I'm also enduring the humiliation to spy on the king turtle. What bullshit #1 genius. You can't even withstand a single blow from my brother Hao. You're just a piece of trash among trash. I have to say, this Wang Gui is trash to the extreme. Jiang Xiaoji and Zhao Ritian spat in front of Wang Gui, their faces filled with disdain. Immediately, he followed Yi Liangshan and stood back. You 3 stinking dogs. Wang Gui was about to explode from anger. He was despised by the 3 lackeys. He came here to humiliate Qin Hao. In the end, not only did he not succeed, he was even despised by the 3 dogs. Scram! Qin Hao couldn't be bothered to look at Jiang Xiaoji and the rest. He looked at Wang Gui and said, Who's the trash now? Who is the trash? Who was the arrogant one? Wang Gui, you call yourself #1 in the world and don't put anyone in your eyes. Do you dare to get on the arena and fight me? Qin Hao had wanted to keep a low profile, thinking that rank 7 mentality was enough. However, Wang Gui came out and said that Qin Hao was trash. Qin Hao couldn't keep a low profile even if he wanted to, so he could only be more high profile. In fact, rank 10 spiritual power was far from Qin Hao's limit. Even a rank 15 mentality was not qualified to be looked at by Qin Hao. His spiritual power was at the sovereign level. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Wang Gui clenched his fists and took a step forward. He was about to step onto the arena to fight Qin Hao to the death. He wanted to use his actions to prove who was the real young expert. He had to use his actions to regain his lost face. Cough. At this moment, a muffled cough was heard. The king turtle quivered, and its frantic mood calmed down. At the same time, this cough caused everyone's scalps to go numb. Obviously, this person was extremely powerful. Yuning Chong frowned as if she was facing a formidable enemy. As soon as the cough was heard, she purposely took a few steps towards Qin Hao to prevent any accidents. Suddenly, a group of distorted ripples appeared in the void behind Wang Gui. A skinny, hunchbacked old man in azure clothes walked out from the ripples and came to Wang Gui's side. His face was solemn as he said, "Your black tortoise divine art is not complete yet. It's obviously unwise for you to fight with that kid at this moment. Elder Ouyang Studio Ouyang. Senior Elder Ouyang Senior Elder. He Studio to the ouch. You, Yang Studio you." Yining Shang said coldly. In fact, she had always known that Ouyang Wusan was hiding behind Wang Gui. Was. Yining Shang's words shocked everyone present. This unprepossessing, hunchbacked old man was actually an outer court elder of 10 Directions Academy. His strength was enough to rank him third in the entire outer court. Little Ling Chong, old man did not expect that you would personally come to preside over Chiangbin's assessment. Originally, I thought that it was enough to have Su Tianlei, the big wolf dog, but old man miscalculated. Ouyang Wusan said indifferently. There was a trace of seriousness on his face. Obviously, he was a little afraid of Yun Chang's strength. Su Tianlei was called a big wolf dog by Ouyang Wusan. He was so angry that his whole body trembled, but he did not dare to come forward to reason, because he was no match for old man Ouyang. All right, 10 Directions Academy and Chiangbin are both one of the 4 great academies. Although there are many battles behind the scenes, we have not reached the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. Moreover, old man is not here to target your disciples. Ouyang Wusan's words made Yuning Chong breathe a sigh of relief. After all, if they really fought, she and Su Tianlei together might not be able to defeat old man Ouyang. At this point, Ouyang Wusan turned to look at Wang Gui and said, "Let's get down to business. Don't you want to get rid of Jiang Huang's bloodline and support your father, Wang Ba, to be the emperor? Now, old man can fulfill your wish." Wang Gui was accepted by 10 Directions Academy and also had the right to make a wish. In the beginning, Wang Gui's wish was to get rid of Jiang Huang's bloodline and let Wang Ba be the emperor. But now he changed his mind. Looking at Qin Hao with bloodshot eyes, Wang Gui gritted his teeth and said, "No, I don't want the emperor. I want Qin Hao to die. Elder Ouyang, please kill this person for me." Boom! Wang Gui's words were shocking. He did not even want the emperor and wanted to kill Qin Hao. This caused everyone to be a little slow to react. Then, they were extremely shocked. Thinking about it carefully, Wang Gui's actions were actually very rational. After all, Qin Hao was just too outstanding. His mentality was as high as the 10th grade, firmly suppressing Wang Gui's head. As long as Qin Hao was alive, Wang Gui would never be able to make a name for himself. Only when Qin Hao was dead would he be able to regain the throne of the #1 genius. At that time, the throne and beauties would be easy to get. This, Ouyang Wusan had a difficult expression on his face. When he came, he clearly said that he would kill Jiang Huang's bloodline. As an elder of 10 Directions Academy, Ouyang Wusan could get rid of an emperor of the secular world with just a wave of his hand. Therefore, he came without hesitation. Unexpectedly, Wang Gui changed his mind at the last minute and targeted Qin Hao. It would be fine if it was during normal times, but Qin Hao was now Chiangbin's disciple. No matter how bold Ouyang Wusan was, he could not rashly kill him. Chiangbin was also one of the 4 major academies. Although their overall strength was not as good as 10 Directions Academy, they could not be underestimated. Moreover, Ouyang Wusan was just an elder of the outer court. He could not make such a big decision. "Elder Ouyang, don't worry. As long as you kill Qin Hao for me, you will be my benefactor in the future. Moreover, no matter what happens, my master will take care of it. What are you afraid of? Don't tell me you don't want the position of the outer court's chief elder this year?" Wang Gui was tempting him with kindness and threat. At the same time, he threw out a huge temptation. The position of the chief elder was undoubtedly a piece of meat in Ouyang Wusan's mouth. This tempted him. All right, old man, I will kill this little trash. I have to say, this kid's 10th grade mentality is indeed a threat to the future of 10 Directions Academy. The sooner he dies, the better. After saying that, Ouyang Wusan looked at Qin Hao viciously. Trash! Qin Hao shouted. Wang Gui did not dare to make a move himself, so he sent a powerful old man. How shameless! Elder Ouyang, do you really want to be enemies with me, Qiang Bin? Yining Chong took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Hao. Although she was nervous, she did not retreat. So what if I am enemies? You heard it just now. Even if the sky falls, Wang Gui's master will take care of it. Our Dean Fong is the one who covers the sky in the outer court. Old man does not dare to disobey. Ouyang Wusan's words were righteous, but his laughter was sinister. Qin Hao is dead. Old man, you're too arrogant. Chapter 244. Kill for sure. He was not wholeheartedly standing up for Qin Hao. Rather, as a disciple of Qiang Bin, if Qin Hao was killed by the people of Shifeng Academy in front of Su Tianlei would not be able to explain himself when he returned and would definitely be severely punished by the Academy. Moreover, Su Tianlei did not think that Ouyang Wusan would dare to kill him. Therefore, he pretended to resist, which was still very necessary. At the very least, if he resisted, if Qin Hao was killed again, it would not be Su Tianlei's fault. Wasn't there still Yining Chong? Su Tianlei had done his best. It had to be said that Su Tianlei was also very vicious. Scram! Who knew that when Su Tianlei pretended to run out, old man Ouyang was merciless. In a flash, he was unbelievably fast, sticking in front of Su Tianlei, the walking stick in his hand, fiercely smashing Su Tianlei's head. A muffled sound came out, and even the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Su Tianlei was smashed until his head was bleeding. He screamed miserably. His body flew back more than 10 meters, rolling on the ground. The great ant in his mouth spat out. He was hit by the walking stick to the point that he could not get up. In fact, he almost lost his life. F***, this old man is so strong. Qiang Bin's elder, Su, can't even withstand a single blow. Looks like Shifeng Academy is still a bit more fierce. Qian University is useless. Sounds of discussion could be heard in bits and pieces. Although the voice was weak, it was heard clearly by Yining Chong and Ouyang Wusan, including Qin Hao and Wang Gui. In an instant, Wang Gui became arrogant, and old man Ouyang's face was also glowing. On the other hand, Yining Chang's face was full of bitterness, and her handsome little face was trembling with anger. After all, a small fight had affected the reputation of the two academies. Old man Ouyang, you are playing with fire. You're going too far. Yining Chong said angrily. I'm playing with fire. I'm going too far. What can you do to me? Su Tianlei, I want to fight. Qin Hao, I want to kill. What can you, Yining Chong, do to me? Ouyang Wusan proudly shook his head and stroked his beard in a relaxed manner. There was even a smile on his face as he said, Little Yun Shang, let this old man give you a piece of advice. Don't stand up for a mere brat. You are the strongest female elder in Qiang Bin. I have to say, your beauty even makes old man's heart flutter. If it weren't for the fact that I'm too old and can't do that, I would definitely pursue you. In fact, you're only in your early 20s, yet you've already reached the 3-star profound sage realm. Compared to Su Tianlei, you're already more than 30 years old, yet you're still a mere 5-star mortal sage. You're simply dozens of times stronger than his ancestors. However, it's a pity that old man is a 5-star profound sage. Today, I'm the heavens, I'm the earth, I'm the god. I could do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want, and you can't do anything about it. Ha ha! Wonderful. Old man Ouyang's words caused an uproar among the ministers of the various countries. The strength of these 3 elders was at the sage realm. After the Yuan master realm was the Yuan ancestor realm. After the Yuan ancestor realm was the Yuan sage realm. Within the sage realm, there were three major stages. The first stage was the mortal sage realm, also known as the small sage realm. The second stage was the profound sage realm, and the third stage was the heaven sage realm. Su Tianlei was more than 30 years old and had the strength of a 5-star mortal sage. Yining Chong was in her early 20s, yet she had already become a 3-star profound sage. The gap between them was indeed dozens of times stronger than his ancestors. At this moment, everyone felt respect for Yining Chong from the bottom of their hearts. Unfortunately, Old Man Ouyang was a 5-star profound sage, which made him even stronger than Yining Chong. Qin Hao was most likely going to die. 5-star profound sage? Ha! Qin Hao let out a sneer. At this moment, he realized how arrogant Duan Ziju was when he took Xiaohan away. Duan Ziju was only 20 years old, even younger than Yining Chong, but his strength had already reached the level of an 8-star profound sage and was about to step into the heaven sage realm. He indeed had the qualifications to be arrogant. It was no wonder that General Manager Gongsun had painstakingly advised Qin how to give up at that time. From the looks of it now, Qin Hao and Duan Ziju were truly one in the sky and one on the ground, like clouds and mud. However, that was only for now. In the future, no one could say for sure. Old Man Ouyang, you really make me very angry. I will truthfully report today's account to the upper echelons of the inner court of Qiyang University. Yining Chong was so angry that her eyes turned red. Old Man Ouyang relied on his strength to bully the younger generation. He even flirted with a little girl like Yining Chong in front of so many people. No matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to endure it. Go ahead and report it. Even if you report it to the vice president of Qiyongbin, it will be useless. Even if you report it to the president. At this point, Old Man Ouyang's words paused, and his expression became a little unnatural. That was because Qiyongbin didn't have a president. In fact, their president had disappeared for almost 20 years and had never appeared. It was the same as not having a president. She existed in name only. Therefore, Qiyongbin was weaker than the other academies in terms of peak combat strength. That was why they were ranked last among the 4 great academies. Oh, I'm really sorry. Old man, I forgot that you don't have a president. This is actually a very sad story. Perhaps your president, that damned old woman, has already died, so Old Man Ouyang's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. He raised a skinny hand and pointed at Qin Hao's position. Old man will definitely kill this brat. Then you'll have to go through me first. Yining Chong shouted. Orange flames rose from her body, and 2 fireballs condensed in her snow-white hands. Although she was very young, although she was only a few years older than Qin Hao, although her body was very weak, she still stood firmly in front of Qin Hao. She was like an elder sister, unshakable. She used her life to defend the honor of her disciple and the academy. Seeing this scene, Qin Hao was extremely touched. Elder Ouyang, don't waste any more time. Kill Qin Hao, and the position of Grand Elder will be yours. Wang Gui ordered fiercely. That's right. I beg Elder Ouyang to kill that trash Qin Hao for me and wash away the humiliation in my heart. I'm a pitiful person who was ruined by him. Elder, your reputation is unparalleled. You have to support us commoners. Tang Fei pretended to cry and wipe her tears. Good. If that's the case, then Old Man will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and erase this trash who pollutes the world. While speaking, Ouyang Wusan moved. The skinny figure flashed again and pounced on Qin Hao. The crutch in his hand carried the power of thunder and fell mercilessly. How dare you? Yining Chong gritted her teeth and waved the flame in her hand, throwing it at the figure in front of her like a donkey. Unfortunately, everyone could see that her strength was still weak. Even if she resisted, it would be useless. It was only a matter of time before she was defeated. Uncle Gui, take Hao away. I'll fight it out with him. Seeing this, Chun Kang immediately asked the drunkard to take Qin Hao away. He pounced on Ouyang Wusan without hesitation. He would block him as much as he could. Chapter 245. Chapter 245, Red Lotus Wrath. This. Is Chun Kang crazy? He's overestimating himself. They're like moths flying into a flame. They're clearly digging their own graves. Weak Master Yuan, you deserve to die for daring to interfere in the battle between saint-level experts. Everyone discussed animatedly. Some sighed, some felt pity, and some rejoiced in his misfortune. At the very least, the Sky Martial Ancestor and Sky-Bearing Sect Leader were very happy. They were very happy to see Chun Kang die. Kid, come with me. We don't want the students of Qiyang University anymore. The drunkard rushed to Qin Hao's side, pulled him up, and ran. He could choose not to be a disciple of the Blazing Sun martial arts, but his life had to be preserved. Qin Hao's mentality had reached rank 10. His future was limitless. It didn't matter if he couldn't become Qiang Bin's disciple. At worst, Drunkard would throw away his face and kneel at the entrance of the Wild Dragon Academy, begging their elders to be merciful and accept Qin Hao. Presumably, with Qin Hao's ability, the Wild Dragon Academy would definitely accept him. It was better than dying here. However, Qin Hao's legs sank deep into the soil like pillars. No matter how hard the drunkard tried to pull him, he couldn't budge at all. Escape? Where could he escape to? In front of a saint-level expert, there was nowhere to run. He could take your life in an instant. Moreover, Qin Hao had never thought of running away. Dinda could only fight to the death, not escape. The martial arts tournament carried the hopes of so many people. For the sake of Qin Hao, Dan Xian was willing to sacrifice his life to refine a 6th revolving origin spirit pill. For the sake of Qin Hao, Xiao Han could bear the pain and leave for the unfamiliar Dayao Empire. Gua Di and Xiao Wan had agreed to meet Qin Hao in the imperial city of Luoshui. If Qin Hao escaped, how many people's efforts would be wasted? How could he face Caiogua and Chun Wanqin again? More importantly, Yining Chong from Qiang Bin was risking her life to fight for Qin Hao. If Qin Hao shamelessly ran away now, how could he face Miss Yun? I want to be the champion. Qiang Bin, I want to enter. Wang Gui, je must kill. And that shameless Ouyang Wusan, I will consign you to eternal damnation. A roar like that of a furious dragon came from Qin Hao's body, and a torrent of Yuan Qi, which had been superimposed with the Qi condensation technique and the Dragon Whirlpool technique, was unleashed, sending the drunkard flying. Then, Qin Hao turned into a dazzling ball of light and rushed to the place where Yuning Chong and Old Man Ouyang were fighting. At this time, Chun Kang was already vomiting blood, and he was blasted out by the aftermath of the battle. He only had the cultivation of a weak Master Yuan. He did not even have the chance to get close to a saint-level expert, let alone fight head-on. Moreover, Yuning Chong was already sweating profusely, and her face was pale. It was obvious that she could not withstand more than a few moves. How dare you hurt my Uncle Kang? I want you dead. Qin Hao activated the golden bell protection of the Great Void Cauldron, gritted his teeth, and rushed into the battle, rushing to Yun Ingchang's side. At this moment, the golden bell protection, his life-saving trump card, was forcibly shattered by the aftermath of the battle between the saint-level experts. This moment was also the moment when the victor between Yuning Chong and Ouyang Wusan was decided. Ouyang Wusan waved his walking stick randomly a few times, and a ball of orange light was thrown at Yuning Chong. Yuning Chang's realm was lower than his, and her Yuan Qi was not as dense as his. If she was hit, she would definitely be severely injured. In nick of time, Qin Hao's big hand circled around and hugged Yuning Chang's waist. Moreover, his face was close to the beauty's face as he stood together. His right hand also tightly held the other party's slender left hand. This scene simply shocked everyone's jaws off. Qin Hao did not want to live anymore. He dared to interfere in the battle between saint-level experts. His guts were too fat. Moreover, he even hugged Elder Yun's fragrant waist and held the other party's hand. Even their noses were almost touching. Su Tianlei, who was lying on the ground in the distance, had his eyeballs about to fall out. Yuning Chong was Qiang Bin's #1 beauty. Even the outer court's vice principal pursued her like a wild dog without any dignity. Now, it was actually blasphemed by a little disciple. At this moment, everyone's worldview was overturned. Yining Chang also did not react. When she reacted, her face was furious to the extreme. In a moment of carelessness, her waist was hugged by Qin Hao, and her palm was even held by him. Just thinking about it made her feel incredulous. She protected Qin Hao only for the sake of the academy. All right, Qin Hao had indeed aroused Yuning Chang's interest. But in all honesty, she really did not have any feelings for Qin Hao. She protected Qin Hao so much that she did not even care about her life. But what about the other party? Taking advantage of her when she was not paying attention. Yining Chang really regretted it a little. She regretted protecting such a despicable disciple. Qin Hao is extremely shameless. Don't think too much. Your mind will follow my thoughts. Your heart will follow me. Your vitality will be used by me. Take me as the master. Erupt with all your strength. Success or failure depends on this. I will shout 1, 2, 3. Follow my hand and attack. Qin Hao did not think too much about it. His life was at stake. How could he have the mood to take advantage of others? Right now, he only wanted to kill this old thing, Ouyang. What a joke. I will follow you. My heart will follow you. My vitality will be used by you. Moreover, you want me, a sage-level powerhouse, to take you as the master. Who are you? Yining Chang was simply furious. Qin Hao was extremely overbearing. But at this moment, she also felt that the other party was not taking advantage of her, but wanted to help her. However, Yining Chang felt that Qin Hao was overestimating himself. At this moment, the vitality on old man Ouyang's walking stick had already blasted over. 1, 2, 3. Attack! Qin Hao shouted 3 times, interlocking his fingers with Yining Chang's. Regardless of whether the other party agreed or not, they held hands and stabbed forward together. However, Yining Chang also shouted 1, 2, 3. Attack! At this critical moment, her thoughts were exactly the same as Qin Hao's. Even she did not know why she believed in Qin Hao. She felt that this was a joke. But at this moment, a miracle happened. Boom! Yining Chang's fiery energy wrapped around Qin Hao's vitality, and the two of them blasted forward with their interlocked fingers. It was a huge fireball with a diameter of 5 meters. The outside of the fireball emitted an orange sage-level light, but the inside was as red as blood. There was no doubt that the inside was Qin Hao's vitality, but it was not ordinary vitality, but the overbearing red lotus fire energy. The red lotus fire energy was a trace of the great void cauldron left to Qin Hao. Back then, in order to save Qinhuan Qin, it had already consumed a lot. Later, Qin Hao skipped levels to refine pills and consumed a lot more. Now, the remaining red lotus fire was almost negligible. Qin Hao still could not use the red lotus fire in the great void cauldron. This attack was really heartbreaking, but he had no choice. Did he want old man Ouyang to die, or did he want Qin Hao to die? Unfortunately, Qin Hao's cultivation was too low. If he fought head-on with the profound sage Ouyang, the red lotus fire would be exhausted before it could hit the other party. Therefore, he had to rely on Yining Chang's protection in order to trick old man Ouyang. Boom! The huge fireball collided with the orange light. Suddenly, the heaven and earth shook, and the fighting stage at the side completely collapsed. A turbulent and violent aftershock swept out with the temperature of the flames. Everywhere it passed, the crowd flew into the air, and their clothes were burned to ashes. Even the thick walls of the northern Martial Kingdom's imperial palace collapsed more than 1,000 feet in a single breath. Chapter 246. Kill a bunch of people. That old man Ouyang was even more miserable. He watched helplessly as the fireball flew over. He watched helplessly as his attack destroyed the outer flames of the fireball. This showed that Yining Chang's strength was not as good as his. However, at this moment, a blood-red spot flew out from the explosion like a firefly and landed on his face. His face suddenly turned cold, followed by a heart-wrenching pain that spread throughout his body. His face instantly caught fire, and his head was swallowed by the red flames. His face turned into a thick liquid like sulfuric acid and began to fall down. Ouyang Wusan hugged his head with both hands and let out a heart-wrenching scream that shook the heavens and earth. Her face was completely disfigured, and her extremely ugly appearance could scare ghosts to death again. Unfortunately, the gap between Qin Hao and Old Man Ouyang was too big. This last bit of red lotus fire was not enough to completely kill a profound sage. Whoosh! Everyone at the scene was shocked beyond words by the scene in front of them. Yuning Chong was obviously not as strong as Old Man Ouyang. He was about to lose as Qin Hao entered the game. Instead, the two of them had heavily injured Old Man Ouyang. When Qin Hao and Yuning Chong joined forces, 1 plus 1 did not equate to 2, but more than 2. This was like seeing a ghost. Qin Hao only had the cultivation of a small, profound master, so he couldn't cause any harm to a profound sage powerhouse. Why was he so powerful after fusing with Yuning Chong? At this moment, even Yuning Chong was stunned. She had never expected such an outcome. Furthermore, she was being pressed down by Qin Hao and had forgotten to resist. Her watery eyes were filled with disbelief. His expression was also one of disbelief. Qin Hao's position in her heart was infinitely magnified. In the beginning, she was just a little bit curious about Qin Hao, but now it had almost turned into worship. She even had a little fangirl expression on her face. Qin Hao is really an incredible man. You adulterous couple. You ruined Old Man's handsome face. I want you to die a horrible death. Old Man Ouyang let out a blood-sobbing howl. His entire upper body was covered in blood. His skin was roasted, revealing his bright red flesh and tendons. It was extremely hideous. Immediately, he waved his crutch again, trying to sweep out another round of attack to kill Qin Hao and Yuning Chong on the ground. However, before he could raise his primordial qi, his body started spewing out blood. The primordial qi that was raised also dissipated powerlessly. He knew that his 5 viscera and 6 bowels had all been poisoned by the red fire poison, and he no longer had enough strength to attack. He stopped, but Qin Hao didn't. He raised his hand, and his spatial ring flashed. Suddenly, a huge gray shadow darted out from Qin Hao's position and pounced between Old Man Ouyang's legs. Old Man Ouyang didn't even see it clearly before he was bitten by the gray shadow on his crotch. Suddenly, another heart-wrenching scream was heard. This scream was even louder than the one before. Old Man Ouyang screamed so loudly that he felt like dying was better than dying. At this moment, he could clearly feel that the male object between his crotch had completely bid farewell to him. From now on, he was a eunuch who would never have any descendants. The gray shadow that Qin Hao released was the dog spirit. The dog spirit was indeed smart. It didn't hesitate to attack when it got the job done. After biting off Old Man Ouyang's indecent object, it immediately retreated. It knew very well that if it was a step later, it would most likely die. Qin Hao, old man, and you can't live under the same sky. You better not go to Qiyang University. If not, old man has 108 ways to make you die in that university without anyone knowing. Mournful curses could be heard from the distant sky. Old Man Ouyang didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned into a ball of light and escaped. He saw Qin Hao and Yuning Chong standing up and clasping their hands together. If they were to attack again, Old Man Ouyang would definitely die. Elder Ouyang, my great Elder Ouyang, why are you running away? Wang Gui wanted to cry, but had no tears. He wiped his snot and flew into the sky. Qin Hao, just you wait. Our debt isn't over yet. 2 months later, in a new star competition of the 4 major universities, I'll make sure you die without a burial place. Don't be a coward then. My son, don't leave your old father behind. Big brother, take pity on me. Take me away. My son-in-law, why are you running away? Lord Saint, why are you abandoning me? Below, a wave of wailing and crying rose and fell one after another. Wang Gui's departure had caused a group of people to die, including his father, Wang Ba, and his brother, Wang Bi, the Tang family, the entire Guihai sect. They would all be consigned to eternal damnation. At this moment, Tang Fei was also extremely quick. Without saying anything, she leaped up and firmly hugged Wang Gui's thigh. "Brother Wang Gui, take me with you. I'm willing to be a slave or a servant for all eternity." Splat! Unexpectedly, Wang Gui turned around and pierced Tang Fei's heart with his sword. He then ruthlessly kicked Tang Fei's body to the ground. It was already difficult for him to escape by himself. Taking Tang Fei with him would undoubtedly be a burden. He didn't even turn around to look at Tang Fei when he was running away. Perhaps in his heart, Tang Fei wasn't even a person. She was just a tool to vent his desires. I regret it so much." Looking at Wang Gui's disappearing figure, Tang Fei landed on the ground. Her life had come to an end. She wanted to turn around and look at Qin Hao again. Unfortunately, she would never be able to see him again. "Fei, my poor Fei," Tang Xian cried. Tang Fei was his favorite. She had been pampered since young and was born with a Yuan sage physique. If there were no accidents, she would be a good girl who would be respected by everyone in the future. Unfortunately, you chose the wrong person. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Jiang Huang slammed the dragon throne and stood up angrily. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless men in black appeared from all directions in the audience. They jumped into the arena and began a bloody massacre of the Tang family and Guihai faction. Jiang Wang had arranged for these assassins to be sent in early on. It was all for this moment. Poor Tang Xian was killed by more than 10 Yuan Shi realm assassins before he could even reach Tang Fei. Old Man Guihai was one of them. These assassins were well-trained and extremely dangerous when they worked together. If they were to fight Tang Xian and Guihai alone, they might not be able to defeat them. However, if they were to fight in groups, especially when Tang Xian and Guihai were unprepared, they would be able to kill them in one hit. Come on, I've been on the battlefield. When have I, Wang Ba, ever been afraid of anyone? You bunch of little bastards. Wang Ba knew that he had lost the upper hand. He drew out the battle saber from his waist and prepared to fight to his heart's content before he died. Slash! At this moment, a golden saber pierced through Wang Ba's heart from behind. You've been on the battlefield, haven't you? I've also been on the battlefield. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Elvido laughed sinisterly. He kicked Wang Ba's body away. Pay for my father and mother with your life. Amidst the chaos, a figure in red charged toward the second elder of the Tang family, Tang Kun, with a sharp sword in his hand. Chapter 247. Tang family, matriarch in fact. She had been watching the competition the entire time. She would be happy because of Qin Hao's victory. She would also be worried because of Qin Hao's obstruction. At the same time, she was also paying attention to Tang family's second elder, Tang Kun. Tang Kun had forced the Blood Kirin's mother to her death and caused her father to commit suicide. In the end, he had mercilessly chased the young Blood Kirin out of the family and forced her to live on the streets. Starving and cold, she walked the path of an assassin and lived a nightmarish life. The destruction of the Blood Kirin family was all caused by Tang Kun. This hatred was absolutely irreconcilable. Now, she had finally found a chance to kill her enemy. She charged forward with her sword. Unfortunately, the Blood Kirin's strength was too low. Since the first time she met Qin Hao, a few months had passed, and she had only reached the 8th tier from the 5th tier of Essence Gathering tier. Tang Kun, on the other hand, was a 4-star master. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. You're courting death. In this moment of crisis, Tang Kun's strength as a 4-star master erupted. He slammed his palm down, and a powerful green origin chi devoured the Blood Kirin's life. If the attack hit, she would definitely die. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. Qin Hao used the water wind step to block the attack, leaving behind afterimages. At the same time, he stretched out his palm and collided with Tang Kuen's attack. This palm strike caused Tang Kuen's blood to churn. He involuntarily screamed and fell to the ground, spitting out blood. Qin Hao cultivated the art of endless samsara. He could even kill Long Aoyin and Wu Jintao, who were both 8-star masters. Moreover, Tang Kuen was merely a 4-star master. This is your only chance for revenge. Qin Hao stood in front of the blood Kirin with his hands behind his back, staring coldly at Tang Kuen on the ground. Sure, don't listen to Qin Hao. I am your grandfather. I was wrong in the past. I have reflected on it. I deeply regret it, and I want to make it up to you all the time. Sure, my blood flows in your veins after all. How could you do such a heartless thing like killing your grandfather? You're worse than a pig or a dog. Use the sword in your hand and protect your grandfather as he leaves. Tang Kuen was extremely shrewd and ruthless. The blood Kirin had been labeled as a traitor. I can't wait to kill you. Ever since I was 10 years old, I was chased to the streets and became a beggar for 7 whole years. Tang Kuen, you don't deserve to be my grandfather. You don't deserve. The blood Kirin was crying. His heart was filled with rage. But the sword in his hand was getting weaker and weaker. In the end, his hands began to tremble. She wasn't afraid of treason, nor was she afraid of being criticized by others. It was because Tang Kuen was really her last family in the world. At this moment, her heart softened. I never want to see you again. The blood Kirin threw the sword in front of Tang Kuen, turned around, and left with tears in his eyes. Then you can go to hell and be buried with your bitch mother. Seeing this, Tang Kuen picked up the sword from the ground and stabbed it viciously at the blood Chilin's back. He didn't hold back at all. As I said, this is your only chance for revenge. Qin Hao said helplessly. After speaking, he raised his hand and pointed. A beam of green light shot out from his finger. The attack passed through the blood Kirin's cheek and took away a strand of his fragrant hair. With a PFFF sound, it pierced Tang Kuen's heart behind her. Sure, is your granddaughter. She is related to you by blood. I, Qin Hao, am not related to you at all. You old dog actually dared to frame my parents. Spit. Qin Hao walked in front of Tang Kuen's corpse and spat on his forehead. I will return this spit on behalf of my grandfather. Back then, Qin Shilong had lowered his voice and begged everywhere for Tang Kuen's marriage. He was willing to be humiliated by Tang Kuen. Now, Qin Hao had worked hard and won the championship. He had become Qiang Bin's disciple and washed away this humiliation. Girl, you are still not qualified to be an assassin. Qin Hao took the initiative to hold Tang Shishi's hand and laughed. At the same time, he slapped a sumaru pouch into her hand. The scene in front of them deeply shocked everyone. Qin Hao had crushed all the geniuses since the beginning of the competition. Even Long Aoyin and Wu Jintao couldn't withstand a single finger from him. He had even joined forces with Yuningshang to fight off a profound sage. Even that Wang Gui was frightened like Zhao Ritian and didn't dare to fight on the stage. Although everyone heard that Wang Gui was cultivating some divine skill and that it wasn't the time to use force. But his eyes were filled with fear of Qin Hao. Wang Gui had given up the throne and begged old man Ouyang to help. It was enough to prove that he was really afraid. The massacre in the competition was still ongoing. It had to be said that the sudden appearance of hundreds of black-clothed assassins had caused quite a commotion. The commoners were so frightened that they were crying for their parents. There were clashing sounds of swords and sabers everywhere. Blood could be sprayed on strangers at any time. This unexpected calamity had caused the merchants of various countries to complain incessantly. Fortunately, the commotion didn't last for long. In half a cup of tea's time, the attendants and some important members of the Tang family were all eliminated. This included the personal guards of the great general's residence, the disciples and elders of the Guihai sect. Except for those who were still in their hometown in the Jiang Kingdom, no one escaped. Of course, the sect master of the Guihai sect of the Jiang Kingdom couldn't escape either. After doing all this, the assassins disappeared into the crowd of people as if they had never appeared. In such a short period of time, even the imperial army of the Beiwu kingdom couldn't react. This made Wu Yingxiong very angry. Jiang Wang pretended to be weak on the surface, but in fact, he was a fierce wild wolf. He actually had the ability to arrange assassins in the Beiwu kingdom's competition. It had to be said that Jiang Huang's forbearance and ruthlessness were something that Jiang Xiaoji might not be able to achieve, even if he cultivated for a few more decades. Now that Yuning Chong was present, Wu Yingxiong could only swallow his anger. After all, Qin Hao was a disciple of Qiang Bin, but he was born in the Jiang kingdom. You are, Tang Shi, who had changed her name to the Blood Kirin, was stunned. She looked at the Sumeru pouch in her hand with a burning gaze, but she didn't accept it. She knew that Qin Hao had Xiao Han by his side. The Sumeru pouch was so precious that it should be given to Xiao Han. After all, Qin Hao had given the jade water sword to that pretty little girl. If I tell you to take it, then take it. As the future head of the Tang family and an assassin, having a Sumeru pouch hanging on your body is a very honorable and convenient thing. Qin Hao smiled faintly. Then, all right, Tang Shi nodded. Then, her delicate body trembled and her eyes widened. What did you say? I am the leader of the Tang family? Yes, Tang Xian is dead. You're the only successor of the Tang family. There is no one else. Qin Hao spread his hands. Ahem. Actually, old man is still alive. However, I agree that Shi should be the leader. At this time, a weathered cough was heard. The grand elder of the Tang family, Tang Yu, slowly walked over. When the assassins made their move, they did not attack him. It was obvious that Jiang was very scheming. She had already investigated the relationship between the Tang family and the Tang family. The grand elder was Qin Hao's grandfather. Grandpa Tang Yu. When Tang Shi saw Tang Yu, she hugged his arm happily. Chapter 248. Unable to satisfy how Shi is a child with a hard life. Her experience reminds me of your mother. That's why I've been secretly sending people to protect her. Otherwise, do you think that she has been targeting Tang Kuan for so many years? If there is no insider with this child's mediocre martial arts, how many lives can she survive? Tang Yu shook her head, looking at Tang Shi with doting eyes, as if she was looking at her granddaughter. I see. Qin Hao took a deep breath and nodded in understanding. Qin Hao, look at what it's holding in its mouth. At this time, Yuning Chong shrieked, pointing at the dog spirit's mouth. The dog spirit squatted beside Yuning Chong, scaring her so much that she didn't dare to move. After swallowing old man Ouyang's indecent object, the dog spirit's strength instantly increased. From the 5th rank, the Xian beast directly rose to the 8th rank. It had to be said that the object of a profound sage was extraordinarily powerful. The green light that enveloped the dog spirit flashed continuously. It simply blinded Yun Yingchang's beautiful eyes. She wasn't afraid of the dog spirit. After all, the 8th rank Xian beast was as weak as an 8-star master. What made her feel incredulous was that this wild dog was comparable to an 8-star master. In the secular world, this was simply unheard of. No, it was a strange story. This dog's spirit had flown out of Qin Hao's spatial ring. Woof woof. Roar. The dog spirit's realm stopped at the 8th rank. It obediently squatted in place, as if waiting for Qin Hao. Qin Hao turned his head. Sumeru pouch. The thing in the dog spirit's mouth was the spatial artifact, Sumeru pouch. Qin Hao had just sent one away, and in the blink of an eye, another one had returned. Could it be old man Ouyang's? Qin Hao and Yuning Chong looked at each other. Roar. Yuning Chong was dumbfounded and didn't answer, but the dog spirit nodded. This scene simply made everyone have the impulse to faint. Not only did the dog spirit swallow the profound sage's family jewels, it also took the profound sage's Sumeru pouch. Who did he learn this from? Gulp. Qin Hao swallowed his saliva. The spatial pouch of a 5-star profound sage. Who knew what kind of valuable things were stored inside? Immediately, he took it out of the dog spirit's mouth and patted its head. Good boy. After that, Qin Hao put the dog back into the interspatial ring. Uh, Everyone, do whatever you want. Just pretend you didn't see it. Qin Hao also threw old man Ouyang's Sumeru pouch into his interspatial ring, as if nothing had happened. Yining Chong pursed her lips. How stingy. Then he asked anxiously, Is your injury okay? Injured? Where's my grandson injured? Quick, let grandfather have a look. Tang Yu's heart was burning with anxiety when she heard this. Quick, let Grandpa Drunkard take a look. Rank, 10 mentality. How can he be injured? Quick, let me have a look. You are Uncle Xian's only disciple. You can't be injured at all. Drunkard and Chun Kang immediately said anxiously. Qin Hao is now very precious. No. How could I be injured? Qin Hao casually waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. However, when he waved his hand, it seemed very unnatural. Tang Shishir rushed over and ran behind Qin Hao. With a swish, she tore off Qin Hao's clothes. Suddenly, a huge bloody wound appeared on Qin Hao's back. The wound wasn't deep, but it was very large. The skin was cracked, and everyone could even see the flesh wriggling. It was obvious that Qin Hao was using his vitality to suppress the injury, but he still acted as if nothing had happened. You're a girl. Why are you tearing off people's clothes? Qin Hao glared at Tang Shishir and quickly pulled up his clothes. Still pretending, I saw it all. Just now, when the two of you clasped your hands together and the fireball exploded, you used your back to block in front of Elder Yin. When you landed on the ground, you used your body to protect her. Tang Shishir's eyes were a little red. Qin Hao was too good to Yining Chong. Not only did he block the aftermath of the explosion, but he also let her body collide with the ground when she rolled. Yining Chong didn't even lose a strand of hair. Qin Hao alone bore the blame of two people. Don't talk nonsense, Qin Hao muttered. If it wasn't for Yining Chong risking her life to protect him, Qin Hao would have been killed by old man Ouyang long ago. This little flesh wound was nothing. I have a bottle of jade skin ointment here. It's a rank 3 elixir pill. I'll give it to you. Yining Chong was very touched. She never thought that Qin Hao was such a meticulous and considerate person. Her small hand wiped the Sumeru pouch at her waist and took out a bottle of medicine and handed it to Qin Hao. Hiss! There were gasps all around, and their eyes were filled with envy. Qin Hao hadn't even stepped through the door of Qiyang University, and the elder personally gave him a bottle of third-grade pills. It had to be said that Yining Chong was worthy of being an elder of Qiyang University. She casually gave him a pill of third grade. Jiang Country didn't even have a third-grade alchemist, and everyone could see that this bottle of jade muscle ointment was definitely expensive. Thank you, Sister Yin. Qin Hao didn't pretend to be pretentious and handed the medicine to Tang Shishir. Tang Shishir began to apply it on Qin Hao's back with tacit understanding. She was very sensible. You brat, you really know how to pick the right time to build a relationship. A cold snort was heard, and it was filled with jealousy. Su Tianlei walked over. Qin Hao kicked his nose and went up to his face, calling her Sister Yin. Yining Chong was an elder of the outer court, and it was very likely that she would be promoted to the inner court in the future. If a little disciple became her younger brother, then he would have a meteoric rise in the future. That it's okay. If you didn't help me, I wouldn't have been able to beat Ouyang Wusan. Yining Chong was actually a little shy, and even her cheeks were flushed. Just now, Qin Hao forcefully hugged her waist and even held her hand. Their fingers interlocked, forming a concentric knot. This action was no different from couples. Aya, how can you think like that? I'm a teacher. Qin Hao is a student. How can I have a relationship with him? This is simply too shameful. Yining Chong couldn't help but blush even more. She was so red that she didn't dare to raise her head, and her pair of jade hands restlessly pulled up her skirt. This scene was quite awkward. Cough, cough. Sister Yin, let's talk about something serious. Didn't you say that you would satisfy me? My request. No, I can't satisfy your request. Without waiting for Qin Hao to finish his words, Yining Chong shook her head again and again. She clearly remembered that Qin Hao had said, I want you, let me finish. At that time, I was interrupted. Actually, I wanted to say that I want you to help me save someone." Qin Hao is also speechless. Then, he told Yining Chong about Dan Xian's condition and the treatment method. Qin Hao didn't have any wishes as long as Dan Xian woke up. Yining Chang's face was extremely bitter. Normally, saving someone was just a small matter. After all, Yining Chong was a 3-star profound sage. But if it was Dan Xian, she was really helpless. "Kid, even you said that your first teacher has old injuries, and we don't know how deep his injuries are. Right now, he only has a weak breath left, and he can die at any time. Kid, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? Do you think you can invite the king-level experts of the Luoshui Empire? For us, they are all high and mighty existences." Chapter 249. Flying to the Future. It's hard to find a king-level expert, but it's even harder to find a king-level alchemist. Only an emperor-level expert, like the Emperor of Luoshui, has the ability to find a king-level alchemist. Unfortunately, you don't even have the qualifications to enter the Imperial Palace, let alone meet the Emperor of Luoshui. Or perhaps there might be a king-level alchemist in Dange. If you become an important member of Dange, such as the Great Elder's Pill disciple, congratulations, you'll be able to save your first teacher. Unfortunately, you don't even deserve to carry the Great Elder's boots. I'm ashamed to say that the highest level alchemist in Qiangbin is only a 4th grade profound Saint Master. You actually want us to help you find a king-level alchemist to save your worthless, smelly old master. Why don't you take a piss and look at your own face? Although Su Tianlei's words were impolite. However, it made everyone suck in a cold breath. A king-level alchemist was actually so precious. In the entire Western Liang, only an emperor-level expert was qualified to know him. Even Qiangbin was out of reach. Qin Hao was really overestimating himself. At this moment, Chun Kang and the drunkard were full of frustration. Difficult. Too difficult. I won't give up. If I can't find him, I will become a king-level alchemist myself. No matter how difficult it is, I must save my master. Qin Hao clenched his fists and used his strength to motivate himself. As long as there was enough time, he would definitely be able to step back into the position of a senior alchemist. Save it, you little piece of trash. Get your facts straight. You're just an outer sect disciple. Su Tianlei felt that Qin Hao was really crazy. If he wanted to become a king-level alchemist, he would never be able to do it in his lifetime. Elder Su, pay attention to your attitude. Yining Shang put on a stern face and shouted. No matter what, Qin Hao was now a disciple of Qiangbin. It's fine if you can't help him, but why do you have to be so sarcastic and crush his confidence? Don't be too disappointed. Although we can't help you, we might have the herbs you mentioned. What Yining Chang said next made Qin Hao's heart tremble. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope lit up in his heart. Are you serious? Qin Hao said excitedly. Yes. Yining Chang nodded. In the mountains behind Qiangbin, there is a medicinal valley that is open to the students of the academy once every 3 years. Looking at the time, it should be open in another year. Yining Chang briefly explained that the Medicine Valley belonged to the Luoshui Empire and was owned by the 4 great academies. However, Medicine Valley was the closest to Qiangbin. Therefore, Qiangbin was the one in charge. It was not easy to enter the Medicine Valley. Only the top 10 disciples of the 4 great academies would have the opportunity to enter once every 3 years. Moreover, it was not the top 10 of the outer yard. It was the top 10 of the entire academy, which included the inner yard and inner yard disciples. In other words, if Qin Hao wanted to enter the Medicine Valley, he had to fight with the powerful inner yard disciples and the core disciples with his weak strength. Even if he got the weakest ranking, he would only be qualified to enter. The Medicine Valley was very dangerous. Even the elders did not dare to step in easily. Being able to enter was one thing, but being able to come out was another. Therefore, when the Medicine Valley opened, the 4 great academies would take the opportunity to compete. Each academy would send in 10 of their strongest disciples to search for precious herbs. Whoever found more herbs would be more precious. And if they could come back alive, they would undoubtedly receive generous rewards from the 4 great academies. It's too dangerous. There's only a year's time. Our Hao, is just a new disciple. He definitely can't participate. Chun Kang made a prompt decision to stop Qin Hao from participating. That's right. Silly boy, don't be rash. Kang and I can still hold on. As long as we don't die, old man Dan Xian won't die. We can wait 8 years for you. The drunkard said. Even the elders of the 4 great academies did not dare to step into the Medicine Valley. How could Qin Hao, a mere master yuan, go to such a dangerous place? Yining Chong was so strong, but she was only an outer elder of Qiangbin. It was too dangerous. If it can shorten the time to save my master, I'm willing to take the risk no matter how big it is. I don't want him to stay in that cold ice. I want to hear him laugh and see him refine pills. Qin Hao said with tears in his eyes. Without Dan Xian, there would be no Qin Hao today, even if Dan Xian had never really helped Qin Hao in any real sense. But at the important moment of the 4-nation competition, he was willing to sacrifice his life. That was enough. Sigh. Yining Chong let out a sigh. The world was heartless. The strong preyed on the weak. What was the use of being hot-blooded? In the end, words could not do anything. Everything had to be done with strength. Judging from the current situation, there was an 80% chance that Qin Hao would not be able to enter the Medicine Valley. However, his friendship with Dan Xian made Yining Chong deeply moved. At this moment, Yining Chong even felt lucky. Lucky that Qiangbin had accepted Qin Hao, not Wang Gui. In order to survive, Wang Gui could even abandon his father and brothers. The Guihai sect had nurtured him for so many years, but they abandoned him just like that. On the other hand, Qin Hao could ignore everything for his master. This kind of true love was truly rare. It's getting late. Senior Sister Yin, we should be on our way. Su Tianlei raised his head and looked at the sky. Qin Hao was not the only disciple in Qiyang University's assessment. The other arenas should also be over. This kind of assessment was only the beginning. Next, there were even stronger challenges waiting for Qin Hao. Therefore, they did not have time to waste. Yining Chong nodded. She raised her hand, and a dazzling light appeared from the Sumeru pouch at her waist. Then, a small boat emitting white light appeared in front of everyone. The boat was not big. It was like a small boat, sparkling and translucent like jade. However, no one dared to look down on this boat, because it was a personal artifact that the 4 great academies enjoyed. See piercing light shuttle. Qin Hao's eyes tightened as he thought in his heart. Of course, he recognized this boat. It could soar in the sky, and its speed was extremely fast. It was not much slower than the flying speed of a magical beast. Immediately, Qin Hao shook his head. For something like this 600 years ago, it was not enough for him to take a look. Qin Hao's flying artifact was the Dragon Emperor battleship. It could soar into the sky and roam in the void. Not only was the Dragon Emperor battleship fast, it was also equipped with powerful crystal cannons. It was no exaggeration to say that one cannon could destroy the entire Jiang country. Now that he saw a mere sea-piercing light shuttle, he was actually excited. How embarrassing! At this time, Yining Chong and Su Tianlei had already stepped into the small boat. They raised their hands and beckoned Qin Hao to board the boat. Young master, wait. Just as Qin Hao was about to leave, Haidafu ran up and grabbed Qin Hao's hand tightly. Young master, what about our state of Qin? State of Qin? What state of Qin? Oh, I forgot. You mean those 20 cities? Chapter 250. A Blessing or a Curse. That's right. If you leave, the people of the Qin state will miss you. You should ascend to the throne first, set a reign name, and then choose 8 or 10 concubines at the last minute. After that, you should have sex with them and give birth to a dragon child. Otherwise, if you die, you won't even have a successor. Furthermore, how will the civil and military officials be chosen? Will the imperial examinations be held? How does the etiquette of the state of Qin determine? Which sect will the orthodoxy choose? Haifei Zi was also talking nonstop, his saliva flying all over the place. The more Qin Hao listened, the more his scalp tingled. He understood what Hai-Fei Zi was saying. In fact, Qin Hao had experienced it in his previous life. However, at that time, it was handed over to one of the 4 disciples, Xinu, to handle. On the surface, Qin Hao was the emperor of Daqin in the East Continent. But in fact, he was only responsible for refining pills and fighting. Now that Hai-Fei Zi had asked him to do it all over again, Qin Hao felt that his head was about to explode. No. I don't want to raise pigs. I don't need 8 or 10 temporary concubines. Moreover, we don't want the 20 cities. Qin Hao waved his hand repeatedly. What did you say? How could he not want it? As the emperor of the Qin state, you have tens of millions of people. You can't abandon them. Moreover, how much would the taxes of 20 cities cost? It's enough to support us for more than 10 days. Hai Dafu said anxiously, take these 20 cities and exchange them with Jiang Wang. Exchange them for the 6 most prosperous cities in the south of Jiang country, including the Heaven's Wall city. Moreover, we don't have a country name. Change the state of Qin to Daqin Prefecture. As for the state religion, it was naturally Fengli Temple. Let's do it this way. I'm leaving. After Qin Hao finished speaking, he turned around and left. Why? Hai-Fei Zi asked foolishly. Loss. What a huge loss. 20 cities in exchange for 6 of the Jiang country. It was a loss in itself. Moreover, the cities of the Tianmu kingdom were already bigger than the Jiang kingdom. Exchanging a big city for a small one was even more of a loss. What a huge loss. Not at all. You'll understand in the future. Qin Hao smiled and stepped into the boat with 1 foot. Alas, Hai-Fei Zi sighed heavily, then stepped forward and grabbed Qin Hao's arm. Since that's the case, we will do as young master says. You take this is my waste token. All the people of the Hai Family Chamber of Commerce are at young master's disposal. Also, you can use this token to attend all the meetings of the Business Alliance and visit all kinds of high-end entertainment places, such as brothels, restaurants, casinos, and auctions. As long as it's a place of eating, drinking, and having fun, you'll be a golden customer. You don't have to pay for anything you eat or play. It's all on my tab. Hiss. Gasps could be heard all around. In an instant, all eyes were fixed on the golden waist tag in Qin Hao's hand. Jealousy. Envy. He was so envious that he was about to die, all right? Hai-Fei Zi was an important member of the Luo Shui Business Alliance. This was his privilege. But now, it had all become Qin Hao's. In fact, Hai-Fei Zi had many businesses in the Luo Shui Empire, covering all the major cities. With the waste token in hand, Qin Hao would have less trouble. At least he wouldn't be short of money. I don't have to pay for eating, drinking, and playing. Is there such a good thing? Then I won't hold back. Qin Hao also put the waste token into his spatial ring. He gave Hai-Fei Zi a look that said, You're not bad. I have high hopes for you. Do you still have this kind of waste token? Why don't you give me one? Seeing this, Su Tianlei quickly jumped down from the boat and held on to Hai Dafu's hand with tears in his eyes. Hai Dafu's position in the Luo Shui Empire was indeed very high. Get lost. Hai Dafu didn't give Su Tianlei any face. He swung his sleeve and flung him away. He raised his head and strode towards Jiang Wang. He was ready to talk business with Jiang Wang. Although 20 cities in exchange for 6 cities was obviously a loss. However, Hai-Fei Zi was a businessman. He wouldn't do anything without benefits. He had 108 ways to trick Jiang Wang until he lost everything. Qin Hao shook his head and smiled, then stepped into the boat. Howard, you have to take care. Chun Kang couldn't bear to part with him. Kid, don't be impulsive. Something should be done if you can, but if you can't, don't force it. I've said it before, we can wait for you for 8 years. The drunkard warned cautiously, afraid that Qin Hao would challenge the Medicine Valley. Pervert, I'll miss you. In the future, will you come back to a small place like ours? At this moment, Tang Shishi's tears fell uncontrollably. She didn't spend much time with Qin Hao, but they knew each other the earliest. It could be said that every time they met, either he was in danger or she was saved by Qin Hao. It could be said that they had gone through thick and thin together. Yes, I'll come back. I'll watch you revive the Tang residence and make it stronger. Qin Hao was like an elder brother, encouraging Tang sure, even though he was younger than the other party. Then, Qin Hao had an idea. His space ring flashed, and he took out 2 sumaru pouches. He tossed them to the drunkard and Chun Kang. Uncle Kang, old man Jiao, take them. Chun Kang's sumaru pouch had been given to Chun Wanqin. The drunkard's sumaru pouch had been taken by Caiogua. As the sect leader of the Fengli Temple and the sect leader of the Heavenly Fist sect, how could he not have a sumaru pouch? In fact, Qin Hao did have 3 sumaru pouches with him. One was from the old demon of the Black Mountain, and one was from Long Out Yin. The last one was torn from old man Ouyang's body by the dog spirit. Of course, the things inside had been moved away by Qin Hao. It was not that he was stingy. It was just that it was not safe to leave some precious things with Chun Kang and the drunkard. It would lead to a fatal disaster. Not to mention Tang Sure. However, Qin Hao did leave a small gift in Tang Sure's sumaru pouch. Receiving the sumaru pouch, Chun Kang and the drunkard were touched and beaming with joy. To be a sect master, one must have the appearance of a sect master. Such a high-end toy was absolutely indispensable. Having a junior like Qin Hao was really too fortunate. Take care. It will take at most 6 years, but at least 3 years. I will break the one-life coexistence spell between you and my master in exchange for your freedom. After saying that, Qin Hao sat cross-legged in the small boat. Buzz! A dazzling brilliance flashed in front of everyone's eyes. The small boat slowly rose vertically into the sky, then turned into a white light and disappeared into the sky. Kid, it doesn't matter if you can't save old man Dan Xian. You have to work hard. As long as you have a promising future, we will be satisfied. However, help me take care of Wanqin. Pervert, I will be waiting for you in the inconspicuous heavens wall city. If you're tired one day, come back and rest. My good grandson, I've seen everything you've done. I'm proud of you. I will try my best to live for 2 more years and wait for you to bring greater glory. The people below looked in the direction where Qin Hao had left and did not leave for a long time. However, the ministers of the various countries were relieved and patted their chests. Qin Hao had finally left. Okay, it's settled. The 6 southern cities of Jiang Country will be changed to Daqin Prefecture from now on. They will have nothing to do with Jiang Country. At this time, Jiang Huang and Hai Dafu had finished their business discussion. Qin Hao was simply an idiot. Exchanging 20 large cities for 6 small cities, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Jiang Country was going to be rich. Its territory had doubled, and it had become the most powerful country among the 4 countries. Idiot? I don't know who is more idiotic in your eyes. Hai Dafu sneered. He called out to 6th brother and disappeared from the arena. At this moment, he seemed to have understood Qin Hao's intention. The 20 cities might not be a cake that fell from the sky, but a disaster that fell from the sky. At this moment, the emperors of the other 3 countries were staring at Jiang Huang with bloodshot eyes. Chapter 251. Chapter 251, The 3 Mysteries of Luo Shui. Luo Shui was vast and boundless. In the land of Western Liang, the Luo Shui Empire was not the only one. Western Wei and Western Zhao were among them. The tripartite balance kept each other in check. The Luo Shui Empire was located slightly to the north. Its south was connected to the ocean, and its north was connected to the land of the northern frontier. In the empire, there were many mountains and rivers, mainly water. Rivers and lakes crisscrossed each other. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a water country. Therefore, the people of the Luo Shui Empire were famous for their water attribute cultivation methods and were famous for their many beautiful women. In the Luo Shui Empire, there were 3 unsolved mysteries that no one knew about. One of them was in Qiangbin. Just as Ouyang Wusan had said, Qiangbin did not have a director. It wasn't that they didn't exist, but that they were missing. If he was alive, he was nowhere to be seen, and if he was dead, his corpse was nowhere to be found. The president of Cheong University was a woman in her 60s. She was known as Grandma Osmanthus. His strength was originally monstrous, but he suddenly disappeared 20 years ago. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't find her body, Cheong University would have been eliminated from the 4 major schools, and Cheong University wouldn't even have the chance to supervise the Medicine Valley. So was Granny Gue Hua alive or dead? It had always been an unsolved mystery. Another secret had been passed down to Dan Gu. This generation's pavilion master Dan Gu was very mysterious. He had never shown his face, and he didn't even know if it was a man or a woman. However, his alchemy skills were at the peak of perfection, and he dominated the entire Western Liang. Unfortunately, even the Luo Shui Emperor, Emperor Wei, and Emperor Zhao did not have the fortune to see him. As for the last unsolved mystery, it was the most widely circulated among the people and became the laughingstock of the entire Luo Shui Empire. It was rumored that Luo Shui had great ambitions. His surname was Yi, and his name was Long Yuan. He had 28 princesses. He was so old that he didn't even have a son. Luo Shui was so big, yet no one could inherit it. However, some people guessed. In fact, Yi Long Yuan had a son. He had a son with a common woman when he was young. He was afraid that the scandal would spread, so he refused to acknowledge his son. In the end, she was punished by the heavens and gave birth to 28 princesses in a row. These 3 mysteries had puzzled countless young talents and explorers of the Luo Shui Empire. Was Granny Gue Hua dead or alive? Was Dan Ji's owner a woman or a man? Did Yi Long Yuan have a son or not? No one knew about it. However, with the arrival of Qin Hao, these 3 secrets were all exposed. High up in the sky, a small boat flew through the clouds like a stream of light, heading straight for the imperial city of Luo Shui. On the small boat, Qin Hao sat at the front with his eyes closed and his legs crossed. Beside him stood Yuning Chong in a white dress. Su Tianlei muttered to himself. With a face full of dissatisfaction, he squatted at the stern of the boat. Originally, he wanted to stand at the front with Yuning Chong, but he was glared at by Yuning Chong. He was an elder of Chiang Bin, but he was also aggrieved to the extreme. His treatment was not as good as Qin Hao's. At this moment, Qin Hao was still thinking about the 20 cities. 20 big cities were indeed very tempting. Unfortunately, they originally belonged to the brave warring states, Beiwu Empire and Fengyue Empire. Qin Hao did not know any of the soldiers and generals stationed there, so it was difficult to control them. Naturally, if Qin Hao accepted the 20 cities, the soldiers and generals would definitely be taken away by the 3 emperors. At that time, the 20 cities would lose their defense and be like decorations. They would be like empty cities, collapsing with a single blow. On the other hand, the 6 southern cities of Jiang Empire were Qin Hao's hometown. Haidafu and Qi Daxiong's homes were also there. Fengli Temple had always been famous in the south. The other 5 cities, with Heaven's Wall City as the main city, could be said to be deeply rooted. Instead of taking 20 empty cities, it was better to take these 6 small cities that were as united as iron blocks. Establishing Daqing Prefecture is the first step in cultivating a warlord. Just wait, Han Lingxian and Zhang Wu. Within 20 years, I will lead my troops to the east, conquer the Dongzhou continent, and take back my Daqing. Qin Hao secretly clenched his fists. He took a deep breath and dispersed the thoughts in his mind. The process was difficult and slow. First, he had to save Dan Xian, then go to Beijiang to find Xiao Han. Qin Hao did not have time to waste. Fortunately, he had won the championship of the 4 countries this time and could meet up with Guo Di and Xiao Wan in Luo Shui Imperial City. And this time, Qin Hao still had 2 important things to do. One was to go to Dan Gu to find Mu Chunfeng and kill him to avenge Dan Xian. The other was to collect the tranquil water. The tranquil water was one of the elements that formed the 9 heavens God's punishment array. Its ferocious lethality was comparable to the red lotus fire. The tranquil water was lost near the imperial city of the Luo Shui Empire. Before I have enough strength, I can't act rashly. First, I have to establish a foothold in Qian University. Qin Hao deeply understood, whether it was taking revenge on Mu Chunfeng or collecting the tranquil water. He needed more strength. Right now, he had to establish a foothold in Qiangbin. Another day passed. They finally arrived at Luoshui Empire. As far as the eye could see, the blue sky and white clouds floated. Below them was an endless stretch of ancient forests and rivers. It was a spectacular sight. However, Yining Chong did not drive the boat to the headquarters of Qian University. Instead, she slowed down in advance. Qin Hao, you have been recuperating for a day and a night. How is your recovery? Yining Chong asked with a trace of concern. I'm in good spirits. Qin Hao opened his eyes, stood up, and smiled faintly. That's good. Yining Chong nodded and pointed below. Look over there. That is the place where the disciples at our college recruited this year are gathered. Qin Hao looked into the distance and saw a small platform in the middle of an endless forest. The platform was filled with figures. Moreover, as rays of light flew over the platform, more and more figures appeared on the platform. Qin Hao knew that the people standing on the platform must have been brought over by the other elders of Qiangbin from other arenas. It was as if Yining Chong had brought him over. Are they still going to fight? Qin Hao vaguely guessed something. It was definitely not that easy to enter Qiangbin. You're right. The Luoshui Empire is in charge of tens of thousands of small countries. In our eyes, the Four Nations martial arts tournament is just a qualifier. Only by passing this last assessment can you become a true disciple of our Qiangbin, but only an outer disciple. If you can't pass, you will be sent back immediately. Behind him, Su Tianlei's indifferent words came over. How could it be so easy to become a disciple of Qiangbin? Qin Hao couldn't help but frown. If he couldn't pass the assessment, he would be sent back? Completely back to his original form? After spending so much effort to participate in the competition, if he was sent back to Fengli Temple, it would be a complete loss of face. This meant that Qiangbin didn't want him. I won't fail. Qin Hao's fighting spirit immediately burned. Don't talk so fast. None of the people standing on the platform are weaker than you. They are all the champions of the Four Nations martial arts tournament and have swept all the way here. Of course, in the eyes of our Qiangbin, you are just SOSO. On that platform, in addition to the champions from the small border countries, there are also the local geniuses of our Luoshui Empire, whose grade is higher than yours. If you want to kill your way out of this group of geniuses, I advise you to give up on that idea, lest you lose your life. Chapter 252. Who is the genius among the geniuses? With your ability, it won't be hard for you to pass the test. I have confidence in you. Yining Chong encouraged. Qin Hao's mental power has reached the 10th grade. Even if he's not the only one in the outer courtyard, he is still a rarity. At least in the outer courtyard, Yining Chong did not find anyone whose mental power is stronger than Qin Hao. According to the previous standards, Qin Hao should have been sent directly to the outer courtyard without the need for the final test. However, in recent years, the quality of Qiangbin's disciples has declined and the tests have become stricter. The meaning of the higher-ups is clear. Disciples seek quality and not quantity. Yining Chong does not have the ability to open the back door for Qin Hao. Taking out a jade tablet from her Sumeru pouch, Yining Chong gave it to Qin Hao. This is my outer courtyard elder's jade tablet. It can bring you some convenience. After entering the outer courtyard, remember to find me at White Cloud Peak. This scene caused Su Tianlei to stare at it. White Cloud Peak is Yining Chang's private territory. Not to mention the disciples. Even the other elders do not dare to step into it. Even the vice principal who wants to see Yining Chong has to beg at the foot of the mountain. What ability does Qin Hao have to make the beautiful Yining Chong favor him? Thank you, Sister Yun. Qin Hao did not stand on ceremony and accepted the jade tablet. Go. After you go down, there will be an enforcement elder who will tell you what to do. With a faint smile, Yining Chong swept out a stream of energy and sent Qin Hao down to the platform below. She then steered the small boat and disappeared into the sky. There was only so much she could do. The rest is up to Qin Hao himself. Have you figured it out? I am a champion of the 4 countries, the son of the Gale sect's leader. What is the point of leaving a genius like me in the wilderness? I am a prince of Chuan Sui. To actually participate in the test with these lowly commoners is an insult to my status. What is Chuan Sui? I am the son of Lu Shangshu of Luoshui's imperial city. Don't I still have to pass the final test? So you are the son of Shangshu Lu. Young Master Lu, I have admired you for a long time. I wonder if I can have the honor of being your follower. On the platform, it was noisy and noisy. Judging from the way they dressed, they all had different identities. These geniuses from various countries, and even Luo Shui, were very dissatisfied with the last test. In their eyes, they were all top-notch talents. Why would they need to test their grandpa? Taking advantage of this opportunity, some people began to form factions. Some of the weaker ones began to look for backers for themselves. Only by following this expert would there be meat to eat. Naturally, Qin Hao was dressed in ordinary clothes and did not catch anyone's attention. Thus, he was shunned to the side. He secretly sized up the people on the platform. Their strength was not weak. Even the weakest of them was at the level of a 7-star master. The stronger ones had reached the pinnacle of a 9-star Yuan Master Realm. In fact, a few of them had the strength of a Yuan Master Realm Master. It seemed that this was really a gathering of geniuses. Xiang Bin was indeed extraordinary. Whoa, 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 the neck sings to the sky. White hair floats in the water. Feet move. He was stunned. A limerick was heard. Qin Hao glanced sideways and saw Playboy in a luxurious suit with a golden ribbon around his waist. Qin Hao could not see through Playboy's strength. Although he could not see through him, he could tell from his behavior. This was a huge piece of trash, a complete hedonistic son of a rich family. That was because Playboy's eyes never left the beautiful female disciples on the platform. Moreover, he was licking his lips. It was extremely wretched. Surprisingly, there was a page beside Playboy. Qin Hao could not help but feel puzzled. What the hell was Qiyang University doing? Did it accept just anyone? It was already surprising that they accepted a good-for-nothing rich kid. Now, there was a page beside him. Qin Hao was almost certain that this guy had relied on connections to get here. Welcome to the garbage collection station. That's right, I'm the law enforcement elder of this platform. My ancestors, I feel extremely disgusted after seeing all of you. You're all trash. You're all trash. You don't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Welcome to the garbage collection station. I hope your performance will not disappoint me. After all, this is platform number 3. Accompanied by the discussion, an old man Huang in a yellow robe walked up to the platform and pointed at the noses of the geniuses. His words were like a violent bomb, immediately causing dissatisfaction among the geniuses of the various countries. We're trash? We're good-for-nothings? We're delicate little girls? This is a garbage collection station? Damn it, we've killed our way here. We're all geniuses of the various countries. In fact, Qin Hao was also a little dissatisfied at this moment. However, in the eyes of this old man, perhaps the geniuses of the various countries on the platform were indeed trash. That was because this old man Huang was a sage-level expert. When he spoke, his body emitted orange primordial qi. It was also because of this that the geniuses of the various countries did not directly make a move. I guess the elders who brought you here must have said it, right? This forest was the final examination venue of the Scarlet Sun Martial Institution. Those who pass will become our disciples. Those who fail will be sent back immediately. As for those who are not sent back, they most likely died in the forest. The old man continued, stroking his beard. Then, this old man will give you one last chance to live. Does anyone choose to scram? If there is, stand up immediately and go back to your country to continue being a good-for-nothing. You've gone too far. You're looking down on us. You want to scare us away with just one sentence? How is that possible? There was a lot of anger on the platform. These disciples were all geniuses in their own sect or country. Naturally, they were proud and arrogant. Their dream was to enter Qiangbin. It was absolutely impossible for them to quit. Oh, you're quite stubborn. I hope you can continue to be stubborn. Since no one wants to quit, our party is about to begin. Old Man Huang's eyes flashed with excitement. He then explained the rules of the test and pointed to the forest behind him. This forest is called the Gates of Hell. Xian Beast is densely packed inside. There are even demonic beasts that are comparable to Yuan Zone, not to mention the miasma and poisonous swamps. At the end of the forest, there is a teleportation spiritual array that leads to the outer court of Qiangbin. What you have to do is to survive. No matter what method you use, as long as you can reach the teleportation spiritual array alive, someone will come and pick you up. Old Man Huang's meaning was very clear. To avoid the pursuit of the Xian beast and demonic beasts and pass through the forest, they would pass. The prerequisite was that they had to survive. Staying alive was the only criterion. I'm afraid that's not all. Qin Hao sneered. If it was that simple, 90% of the geniuses on the platform would have passed. You're quite clever. That's right, it's far more than that. First, you have to touch the stone in front of me. Then, you will be divided into 9 levels. The stone will give you a comprehensive score based on your physique, cultivation, and cultivation techniques. Generally speaking, you will start at level 1. If you're lucky, you might reach level 3 or 4. At this point, Old Man Huang waved his sleeve, and a strangely shaped stone appeared in front of him. It was extremely ugly, and its appearance was worlds apart from the soul-testing stone. The only similarity was that there was a groove on it. Then, everyone understood. As long as they put their hand in, the ugly stone would give them a score. At this moment, many people were eager to give it a try. After all, this was a good opportunity to show off. After all, no one here was useless. They were all geniuses. I'm afraid that only a few of these 2,000 people will be able to enter Qiangbin. A strong young man only realized how insignificant he was at this moment. To think that he felt that he was a dragon among men in his country. He walked forward and placed his palm on the stone. Suddenly, white light converged on the strong young man's arm, leaving a 1 mark. He did not feel depressed because of this, because most of the guys here were probably 1. Let me try. Me too. Let me try. Everyone started to test one after another. As expected, 80% of them were 1. Looking at the 1 mark on their arms, they shook their heads helplessly and even felt a little embarrassed. They were the champions of the 4-nation martial arts tournament, but in the end, they were the worst one. Buzz. Just as everyone was feeling helpless, a strong light burst out from the ugly stone and converged on the arm of a young man in black. It formed the 3 mark. F***CK, are you kidding me? 3. Many people looked at the young man in black in surprise. There was envy in their eyes, but there was also a trace of insidiousness. Obviously, someone had decided to snatch the young man's 3 mark. In response, the young man in black snorted coldly and raised his chin high. His face was full of arrogance, and then a ball of blue flame radiated from his body. The blue flame was the strength of a Sky Origin Grandmaster. The young man in black was only 18 or 19 years old, and his cultivation had reached the Sky Origin Grandmaster. This was undoubtedly a shocking explosion that blinded everyone's eyes. All of a sudden, those malicious gazes disappeared. They wanted to be Qiangbin's disciples, but they wanted to live even more. No one was stupid enough to run in front of a Sky Origin Grandmaster and snatch his mark. That was no different from courting death. I wonder how many marks will I get with my Emperor grade, mental strength, and thousands of heaven advanced cultivation techniques? Chapter 255. Danger everywhere, obviously. They did not expect that this seemingly sloppy and evil playboy was actually a member of the Luo Shui royal family, especially Yan Wanshan. He almost knelt down. He actually had the idea of killing Playboy just now. Just the thought of it was horrifying. If Playboy lost a single hair, even if they chased him to the ends of the earth, the Luo Shui royal family would definitely skin Yin Wanshan alive and pull out his tendons. Moreover, even his father's rock sect would not be able to escape. Immediately, Yin Wanshui hurriedly put on a smiling face, nodding and bowing, trying to get close to Yi Shuihan. However, Yi Shuihan's following words caused Long Live Yan's rage to surge to the heavens. Everyone, don't be nervous. I'm not a member of the royal family. I'm from a declining Yi family. Although my family has declined, my ancestor was once a teacher of the royal family. Yi Shuihan chuckled. At this point, he raised his head and began to chant, "Oh, oh, oh, my neck sings to the sky. Mother Faster's Kerr, you scared me." So he's not a member of the Luo Shui royal family. He's from a declining, small family. At his most glorious time, he was just a teacher. Compared to the Luo Shui royal family, he's worlds apart. For a moment, everyone spat and wiped the cold sweat on their faces. They were really scared just now. "I thought you were Yi Long Yuan's illegitimate son. Turns out you're just a piece of shit, Ba." Yin Wanshan's smiling face immediately became fierce. Moreover, a sinister laugh came from his throat. Yi Shuihan, the scapegoat, was definitely going to be. Faced with everyone's ridicule, Yi Shuihan was not angry. At least on the surface, he was not angry. However, Qin Hao noticed that when Yin Wanshan scolded Yi Shuihan for being Yi Long Yuan's illegitimate son, Yi Shuihan clenched his fists and the corners of his eyes twitched. However, Yi Shuihan hid it very well and pretended to be very scared, so no one paid much attention to it. They only thought that Yi Shuihan was a coward. "All right, all of you follow behind me. Next, I'm going to show you my unique skill. I'm going to bring you all to show off and soar. Follow me." Yin Wanshan waved his hand and led everyone into the forest. "I have to quickly upgrade my imprint. If necessary, I don't mind killing people. Young master, you have to work hard. Only by working hard can you take back everything that belongs to you. Only then can you know the secrets of your body." At this moment, Yi Shuihan's page boy ran over with a pleading look on his face, as well as deep encouragement. "I know. Don't worry, little stool." Yi Shuihan patted the attendant on the shoulder, indicating for him to leave. For the last test in Qiangbin, the attendant wasn't qualified to follow. He could only go to Qiangbin in advance to wait for Yi Shuihan. However, once he stepped into the forest, with Yi Shuihan's strength, it would be a problem for him to survive.